Today, Homeworthy takes you inside 4 beautifully layered homes, each shaped by personal vision and a love of collected design. First, we're in Paris, France, where American-born designer Christopher Noto blends 19th century architecture with Asian artistry and sculptural mid-century touches for a quietly dramatic retreat.
This is a 12th or 13th century Mahakala Buddha, which is a Tibetan Buddha, which is a demon Buddha. So he has this kind of very fierce expression. Sometimes you see them with all the hands, going around, and it's meant to, frighten off the evil spirits. So he's actually a protector, and you see he has this wonderful tendril of hair coming down and these elaborate earrings, and this is actually gold gilt on copper repoussé. So they would make the copper by hammering behind, and then the gold gilt was applied. And this piece has this, it's moved around a few times, but it has a way of catching the light. At certain times it catches reflected light from the sun, and it just beams around the whole room and creates a golden glow. So it's really a spectacular piece and has a real presence to it.
Then we're back stateside in Princeton, New Jersey, where interior designer Judy King creates a vibrant, story-filled home layered with heirlooms, bold patterns, and a lifetime of inspiration.
These pieces here, these are Mugliani's, and they're very valuable pieces of art. So that was important for me to just stack them there as you leave or come in, so they're noticeable. And this French chest I've had, which I love, but these are just, again, just things that I collect.
And in New York City, Lysdahl and architect Philip Norkeliunas unveil their jewel box apartment, where theatrical color and eclectic influences define their signature style.
I never would have chosen this color for a sofa or this design, and it's fabulous. I mean, it holds you, it comforts you. It's also, for me, I saw it and I thought, oh my God, that is so Star Wars. It is so, space age in a way.
Finally, we visit a 1920s pre-war building. Designers James Dolenc and Tom Riker reveal a richly textured pied-à-terre infused with warmth, wallpaper, and joyful color.
Yeah, we came across the piece of the women in the Balmain fashion show from the 50s. It's a shot from a Parisian fashion show. We just thought it was really cool, and the attitude of the woman.
Her stance is brilliant.
Yeah,
it's brilliant.
Yeah.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. For the past 6 years, Homeworthy has taken you inside some of the most extraordinary homes around the world. And today I'm thrilled to share that we're partnering with KBIS to be their official media partner for KBIS 2026. The largest North American trade show for the kitchen and bath industry, KBIS is where innovation launches, ideas take shape, and where the future of how we live at home is defined. And for the first time ever, we're launching the Homeworthy and KBIS Live Studio. It's a broadcast quality media hub right in the center of the show. At KBIS 2026, Homeworthy isn't just covering the show. We're opening the doors and bringing you inside to experience the ideas and technologies shaping the future of our homes. Today, we're taking you inside the Paris pied-à-terre of American-born designer Christopher Noto. Nestled in a historic building from the 1820s, Christopher's home is a masterful blend of French elegance and Asian artistry. From a 17th century Thai Buddha to a gilt copper Tibetan head centuries old.
This is a 12th or 13th century Mahakala Buddha, which is a Tibetan Buddha, which is a demon Buddha. So he has this kind of very fierce expression. It's meant to, frighten off the evil spirits. So he's actually a protector, and it catches reflected light from the sun, and it just beams around the whole room and creates a golden glow. So it's really a spectacular piece and has a real presence to it.
Original details like the living room's cornice and parquet floors set the stage for his layered global vision. while modern touches like a pair of 1960s Italian brass chandeliers that hang like giant baubles add a fresh, unexpected element.
And these, as I mentioned, are totally impractical because they have like 50 bulbs in each and they always blow out and they're very, very temperamental, but I love them because they cast such a magical glow around the room. It's kind of like, looks like butterflies dancing around. And especially as the sun goes down, they really illuminate the room beautifully. Hello, Homeworthy. My name is Christopher Noto. Welcome to my home in Paris. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
My name is Christopher Noto. I'm an interior designer and a furniture company owner, and welcome to my home in Paris. I studied in France in high school and then again in Paris in university, and I actually studied right down the street at Sciences Politiques on Rue de l'Université. And I was so happy in Paris. I just was every day looking up, bumping into stop signs because I was always just so amazed by the beauty of the place. And when I had to leave, when my student visa was up, I ended up leaving and getting a job in New York, but I missed Paris so much and I always wanted to come back here. So many years later, after having lived in Asia, and I had a home in Bali, which when I sold the home in Bali, I bought my first apartment in Paris. And so it was really a lifestyle choice, and just by virtue of that, I started doing a lot of work here. It took many years, but I never forgot about Paris. I always wanted to come back here and live one day, and eventually it happened. It's funny that one of the first things I saw in this home, it was a wreck, and when you walked in the door, there was a huge 1980s IKEA kitchen and 4 bedrooms and 1 bathroom, if you can imagine, in this pretty small apartment. And it had high ceilings and a noble floor on the corner of my 2 favorite streets. I'm like, this is like, can't get better than this. It was flooded with light. There was light dancing around the apartment, and all day the light moves in such a spectacular way. And when I walked to the window, I saw the window hardware were these beautiful caryatides, which are the women that are taken from kind of Greek and Roman architecture that you see like supporting columns. And I just fell in love with them. There's something about them. They're so beautiful. But I just thought there's something about the metaphor of beauty upholding, of doing all the heavy lifting in Paris. And that's what the caryatides kind of stand for. And they're all over this apartment. If you look on the cornices, they're all the caryatides. I feel like they're kind of my partners in crime here. They're just such a beautiful and elegant thing that first attracted me so much. And also the interior shutters, which were oak, just the sense of the craftsmanship and the way that the windows, the latches lock into the oak shutters. All of these types of things, just one thing after another kind of. But that was one of the first things I noticed. So Saint-Germain, it's a very old part of Paris. It's, Paris history is in so many layers, but it is the Paris of the artists and the writers and the intellectuals. I'm always hoping some of that will rub off on me as I wander around the streets here. But there's just it's like living in a country village in the center of Paris. It's pin drop quiet. It is, people are very friendly. I kind of know everybody in the cheese shop and the galleries downstairs. And, I'm right in the middle of the Carré des Antiquaires, which is great for shopping. I'm meeting clients tomorrow to take them shopping around this neighborhood. And so it's really a dream spot for me. The architecture, the sense of place, it's very Parisian and it's very old Parisian, and so it's a dream for me living here. I wake up every day full of gratitude with that. So welcome to my living room. There are several special pieces in here to me. This one in particular is a 17th century Ayutthaya Buddha, and his hands are in what they call an abhaya mudra, which is for protection. So a lot of times this would be something that could be symbolizing protection of the home or something of that nature. And he's a really special guy because the alloy is made of bronze and silver, and he has just the most serene and peaceful expression. And to me, that sort of embodies Asian antiquity in the finest sense. So that's a very special piece. Right in front of him are these beautiful Italian 1960s chandeliers to go something a little bit more modern. Then with these Gioponti mirrors, which are also of the same period and style in brass. And these, as I mentioned, are totally impractical because they have like 50 bulbs in each and they always blow out and they're very, very temperamental, but I love them because they cast such a magical glow around the room. It's kind of like, looks like butterflies dancing around, and especially as the sun goes down, they really illuminate the room beautifully. So yeah, these mirrors are also 1960s, and the idea was to have the mirrors on both sides of the room to create this infinity perspective, where especially with the chandeliers, you see them going on forever if you look straight into the mirror, which is really fun. But I love the modern vibe of the 60s Italian pieces with the antiquities and other contemporary pieces. I think it works really well together. This mirror is really special. This is exactly the period of the apartment, and it has these famous caryatides that I was talking about, the female sculptures holding up the columns and holding up the architecture. So I love those. So I found this in Hermes here in Rome about 10 years ago in an antique store, and just fell in love with him. He's a very beautiful example of 18th century sculpture. So this piece is also very special. It's a marble disc, and this is not painted. It's a natural form in the marble, this kind of tree shape. And this was most likely in either a large screen or in a very large official's chair. And from the patina on the back and the condition, we can see it's most likely 16th century. So it has a great presence, and I love the idea of the tree of life in the center of everything. I'm always mixing things. I mean, I have a collection of these guys, which I also love. I think there's about 7 or 10 of them around the apartment, but these are Ming Dynasty garden ornaments, and these were used, just as ornaments, but also sometimes to press down shoes. They had leather shoes at the time, and they would put them on top to keep the shoe leather soft. But they're just beautiful. I mean, every one of them has such a sweet expression, and they have their own personalities. You can kind of see they're all over, but the little guys, they like to be together sometimes or apart, and they're just really fun. I love having them around. So always a mixture of Asian, European, and as I mentioned, there's a dialogue that goes on between them. There's a tension, and somehow it works out very well. I think there was even a great appreciation in France in the 18th century for like chinoiserie. You'd see a lot of influence from Japan and China. So they were already having a dialogue back then, but somehow these two cultures, being on the other side of the planet, work so well together. There's a real sense of beauty and refinement that works very well, but of a different style. The Asian, as you can see, that's extremely Asian. This is extremely European, but somehow they go together very well. So we're just right next to each other right here. Yeah. So this is a photograph which was a gift to me by my friend Massimo Lystri, who's a wonderful photographer. And this is the Cupola di San Lorenzo in Turin, Italy. And I just love the geometry of this, and the way also it captures the light and bounces off everywhere. But I just think it's so phenomenal to see this European architecture, and it almost looks like the Star of David in the center, and then all of this incredible geometry going around the cupola. It's really a wonderful photograph. And this is in front of some pieces. This is something I had commissioned for our business years ago. The bronze pumpkin is a new sculptural piece, but I just love the organic form and shape. This coffee table is part of our collection, which we do bespoke pieces, and this is a piece that I had made for my former apartment. Actually, it was a small dining table, and I've made it into now a coffee table, but I love the patina of the parchment. So it's actually goat skin, which is dyed, and then applied to a substrate and with some bronze legs. But it has such a, parchment was really big in the 40s in France, and it's an art form and a form of craftsmanship that we still use today, and that is really extraordinary. It's a living, noble material, we call it. These are my Italian cherubs here that I found 20 years ago, and then again 10 years later in a different location in a different store. They are 18th century putti, so they're the Italian cherubs, and holding their cornucopias and with their chubby cheeks. They're just so adorable. I love them. They've kind of been with me, and they've moved around this room a few times, but I think they found their place for the next couple of years anyway. And then this is a piece from Pakistan. This is 1st century, so this is one of the really older pieces. It's Gandharan, and it's a schist stone. But I love the drapery, and it just has a meditative quality about it. I find it's a really, really spectacular piece. And this is right next to just a small collection of industrial discs. This is probably from the 1960s or 70s. But I just love the patination on them. They remind me of these Cambodian bronze mirrors, but they're just really some industrial pieces. The dining table is a piece I found in an antique market. It's English from the turn of the century, and it's got a great patina. It's a combination of rosewood and a couple other types of wood, but has the bronze lion's feet, which are very nice and just happen to fit the room perfectly. So this is a 12th or 13th century Mahakala Buddha, which is a Tibetan Buddha, which is a demon Buddha. So he has this kind of very fierce expression. Sometimes you see them with all the hands, going around, and it's meant to, frighten off the evil spirits. So he's actually a protector, and you see he has this wonderful tendril of hair coming down and these elaborate earrings, and this is actually gold gilt on copper repoussé. So they would make the copper by hammering behind, and then the gold gilt was applied. And this piece has this, it's moved around a few times, but it has a way of catching the light. At certain times it catches reflected light from the sun, and it just beams around the whole room and creates a golden glow. So it's really, really a spectacular piece and has a real presence to it. I notice people kind of become quiet when they walk by it. So it's really, really got something special. And it's right next to one of our collection pieces. This is from Muse Design in Thailand, who we represent. And it's a wonderful ombre cast bronze lamp. Very organic, and it's funny, I'm just noticing here how kind of the hair tendril looks a bit like the hook coming off here. There's always some kind of dialogue going on. So this is one of the first things I noticed in the apartment when I bought it and I fell in love with. These are the caryatides, which are on the handles. These were completely covered with layers and layers of paint, and I had all that removed. And this bronzier who made these actually still exists today. And remarkably, they have a record of this building address, 2nd floor apartment, and each window's bronze elements. So you see these little faces here and here. What these are used for is to hook into the oak volet. So when you open this and you want to shut the apartment when you go away, or even in the summer to keep the heat down, this locks into these little faces here. So it's just extraordinary, the quality of construction and the thoughtfulness that goes into all of this type of thing. You don't see that in developments today. So the parquet isn't completely original in this room, and we managed to restore most of it. Some of the joints and connections are new pieces, but most of it we could restore, and it was very discolored. It was kind of an orange-yellow color, which you see often in older parquet. And so we stripped it and put a sort of a white pigment onto it to create this very lovely, almost walnut tone, like a light gray color, which I think works really well with the apartment. And then, so some of the other details are these cornices I was mentioning. So these are all original plaster work, which we did some light restoration on, but these are the faces of the caryatides again. Talk about beauty doing all the heavy lifting. Here it is, right? An example here. You probably see it more clearly on the mirror here, which has the beautiful caryatides as well. So all of those details were original in this room. So this is one of my favorite spots in the apartment. I love to come out here in the morning and have a coffee and watch the world go by. It has full sun all morning long, so it's a brilliant spot to see all the action in Saint-Germain. This is my second apartment in Paris. I used to live on the right bank, and which was wonderful, but this is the neighborhood I always dreamt of living in. And it's a funny story. I was extremely lucky to be working on an apartment for a friend, which is exactly next door. So if you go out on this terrace and look to the left, it's the next terrace. Or if you crawl through the fireplace, you'll be in their living room. So it's really, I found that apartment for a friend and her family, and in the process of renovating it, I saw somebody unfurling a for sale sign, which, you know, at the time they still use for sale signs. So I called the number, and right away I was, you know, and a few hours later I was in this apartment. And it was a wreck inside, by the way, but I'm going to tell you about that later. But I ended up making an offer and then realizing I can't buy it. I own another apartment and I'm going back to Singapore, and I can't. So, but as the gods, you know, had my back, it was everything moved in my favor, and I just happened to have friends who were coming over for drinks in my former apartment, and they said to me unprompted, you know, if you ever hear of somebody, you know, if you ever find an apartment like this, it would be our dream to buy something like this. And I said, well, maybe we can make a deal. And one of them was a lawyer, and in fact, we drew up the contract that night, and that enabled me to complete the purchase of this apartment. So it was really, I feel like I was meant to be here. But extremely lucky and grateful that it all worked out. Yeah. I've lived here now for just over 13 years. Everything that you see in this room and in the dining room, living room is original. I've taken down one wall that was separating the two areas, but I was able to keep the original parquet and maintain all the details. Everything from this wall back, there's a new chef de béton, a new concrete slab, and everything from the electric to the plumbing is completely brand new. So it's like a brand new apartment from this area back. Although I've incorporated lots of details, I've you know, purchased old moldings and cornices to try to really, you know, bring back the character of the original apartment. And I think it's a success, so I look forward to showing you. So let me show you my kitchen. So we created this very small galley kitchen here, right next to the dining room, for obvious reasons. And you know, it may be small, but I've got everything I need here, and I cook up a storm in this kitchen. I love to make dinners for friends, and it gets a lot of use. Very functional. We have all marble, and you know, it's an Italian kitchen company that did it for me. But everything works great. I've got a steam oven, come microwave, come convection, so it's got all the modern goodies, and it works great. You know, dishwashers here. Storage all around, so it's just what I need. You know, I love marble. A lot of people, you know, I have a lot of clients who are hesitant about using marble in a kitchen, but to me it gets more beautiful with age. I kind of like a little bit of stain. It's me and my patina issue. so I don't mind if things get a little mucked up. I mean, this marble is more than, well, almost 13 years old, and it still looks pretty close to brand new, and I don't take much care. You know, I have beetroot juice spilling on it and God knows what else, and it still looks pretty good. This is a painting that I love that's really an example of something almost cross-cultural. This is French, and this is 18th century painting, but it really looks extremely Asian. You know, the cherry blossoms and the pottery, but it has a very meditative feel about it. So I love this. I love this piece. It's a really special one. So welcome to the guest room, come study, come reading area, come entry hall. So here is a painting that I found in another antique market, which is probably 1940s, 1950s, but I just love the color blocking and the whole composition of the piece. This is a red velvet lantern done by one of our partners, Maison Carvet, which is really special. I think it's such a kind of joyful, very French and Italianate French design. And so here again are my famous caryatides. These are 19th century pieces that were mounted on top of a much older panels. These panels are 17th century, and we think we know which Hôtel Particulier they're from in Paris. But they're just really beautiful. But the mounting of the caryatides is what really got me, because that's just the recurring theme in the apartment. We're in the part of the apartment in this entry foyer that is actually brand new. Everything was newly created. So the walls, the moldings, etc. However, I found these old panels in this door frame rather in an antique market, And we're able to incorporate that here. And throughout this part of the apartment, there's a number of pieces like this, which are kind of architectural salvage, which we then repaired and had gilded and fixed up. And of course, the doors are newly made. But the hardware on the doors is original, and that's from the Paris flea market. So all of those elements work together to create, an authenticity, even though they're not originally from the apartment. In the guest bath, it's obviously a very compact space. So I found this baptismal font in the Versailles flea market, and that works perfectly as a sink here. And then, of course, the book match marble, the wonderful marble craftsman here in Paris. Yeah, it's a very compact guest bath, but it's got a spacious power shower. My interior style, I think, it's hard to define. I would say that I love to have a sense of place. I love to mix high and low. Everything doesn't have to be precious. It has to be reflect the person that's living there. So I think it's always different for every project, depending on where it is, obviously, and the occupants. I don't like to impose my own style on somebody else. I like to have a dialogue and try to find out what they love and help to guide them and be a little bit of a curator of sorts. So that's how I see myself. And every project really is very different. I really have a profound appreciation for craftsmanship. I mentioned I have a furniture company, which is called Noto Atelier, a little plug for me, which we work with our partners in Thailand to create new pieces, and then also we're introducing vintage pieces to the collection as well. But what runs through as the common thread is really quality craftsmanship. And I think, we find that in Asia, specifically in Thailand, and then also with a lot of French antiques and European antiques and things. There's an incredible history of craftsmanship in both places, and that's the thread that runs through, and that's really what I appreciate in furniture design. I love to have a sense of history, but also juxtaposed to the modern era. So I like to have contemporary pieces like these 1960s Italian chandeliers are very modern and totally impractical because they take like 50 light bulbs each, but that doesn't matter. But they cast a gorgeous glow at night with these butterfly patterns along the walls, but very contemporary. But they dialogue beautifully with 18th century French furniture and with a contemporary coffee table like this, which is from our company that's in parchment and goat skin. And so I think all of those pieces, like I said, create a tension with one another that just has a beautiful result, and they sort of dance together, they dialogue together. I feel like there's always an elegant conversation or party going on in here because there's so many elements, and I really love that. I think it brings a richness, and rather than just having a period place which might feel a little bit stuck in time, this is very much living, and it's the dialogue with not only East and West, but the past and the future and the present. So, yeah. And then coming into the primary bedroom. This is really an oasis, as I was mentioning, of peace and calm and tranquility because there is never any noise in here. I love that it's on the courtyard. Some special pieces. This is a bronze chandelier, which is pretty rare to find bronze crystal chandeliers. And one of my neighbors actually has the other one. There was a pair, and we both bought them the same day at the flea market, so I see it in his dressing room from 1 block away sometimes. So the other one is here. And these are a collection of sketches, some of them by Paul Jouve, the Animalia. I love the leopards and the panthers and the lions. And then this painting is by an Irish artist called Mary Waters, and it's quite a monumental painting, as you can see, of a very small, there was a Raphael painting with one image of a banker called Julian. He was very small in the painting, and she blew him up, but he was a Renaissance banker who was very much admired at his time. He was very mysterious, kind of nice looking. Nobody quite knew what he was doing, but he had a lot of money. So he was so it's some sort of this intriguing figure. And so I fell in love with that painting and had that put here. Then I can take you to the primary bathroom. So this space was formerly a small kitchen and a laundry room, which was very strange. There were 2 kitchens in this apartment, but we converted it to a bathroom. Here again, I used some panels from the flea market to give it a little bit more authenticity. We put up the moldings. And of course, the French craftsmen are so wonderful. We had the marbrier, the marble craftsman who did all of this book-matched marble so beautifully. It looks like Rorschach painting almost. And here, for this vanity, I had purchased these marble columns in an antique market, and they just turned out to be the perfect height to support the vanity. So we were able to work that in as well. And so here is a shower, which we built into this area. So again, every bit of space was really used. You can see the Asian door handles. This is a 19th century Chinese dragon. And this is a 1970s mirror, so a touch of disco right here in Paris. And then this is an Edo screen from Japan, and particularly nice one, I think. It's a lunar landscape, and something about the silver gilt. It's almost somewhere between gold and silver, but it picks up light beautifully and has a wonderful reflective quality about it. And I find it very meditative and serene and nice to look at when you take a bath. So in the back of the apartment, I also have these really interesting door handles, which were designed by Ed Tuttle. I worked with the Aman Resorts for a number of years on several projects, and I'm a real fan of Ed Tuttle, who's unfortunately no longer with us, but he designed these for the Park Hyatt in Paris. And when it was being made, there were a few left over from the maker, and I just happened to be able to buy the rest of them, and they're all over the back of the apartment. So they're almost like a dancer. Yeah. Oh gosh, so many things I love about this home in particular. I love the peace and the quiet. I love the proportions. I love the light. The light really dances around the apartment all day long. Sometimes there's a ray of light that catches on that gold Tibetan head over there, and it casts a glow throughout the whole apartment. It's almost surprising because it's just a certain time of day that it hits that happens. So I love stuff like that. I feel like every time I come in, it's almost a surprise to see how the light is dancing around. I love that. The bedrooms are on the courtyard, so it's extremely quiet. So it's like you are, I never hear a bit of noise. So all of that together, and also the location. I love the location. And the building is a Directoire period. I also like this style of architecture. This was the 19th century, Osmanian buildings, which are really lovely. I think I love this room. I make fires in the winter here. I read a lot in here. I have dinner parties. This is a special room. I had enlarged it because the living room was separate from the dining room before. And so I felt like opening up gave it a bit more, opened up the majesty of the proportions. And so I love this room. I also love the guest room, which is a guest room come entry hall, come sort of reading area, reading room and office and study. Everything serves many purposes. I feel like we've used every square inch of space in the apartment. Obviously, Paris to me is the most beautiful city in the world, and I just wanted something that's reflective of that, also reflective of my background, living in Asia, having had the gallery. I had a collection of a number of pieces, artifacts, and things like that, which I, kept with me. So Paris became home for all of that. So now it's this big dialogue between East and West, and all the things I love in one place. I think that what gives a home its soul is the occupants that live there. And of course, how you've curated it. I really believe that what you put into a home, it gives back to you. And I put so much love into this home and so much care, and it really showers it back on me all the time. So I feel, and I really do feel that in almost all projects and that I've been involved in over the years. It's almost a direct proportion of what you put into it comes back to you. Yeah. What home means to me, I think it's a place where you can be comfortable, where you can relax, where you can entertain your friends, where you can, be with your loved ones and family. A place, it's a sanctuary for me. I mean, it's a refuge. I mean, we're all out there in the world, and it's wonderful to come home to a place where you feel protected and where you feel comfortable. And so that's home for me.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Judy King. Welcome to my pied-à-terre in Princeton, New Jersey.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, my name is Judy King. I'm an interior designer in Princeton, New Jersey. Welcome to my home. So we were downsizing. We've been in Princeton for 30 years and raised my kids here. Just trying to figure out our next move. We had a large home and it was just too much space. So my husband and I were looking we wanted to be in town near the university because that's where everything's going on and it's happening. So we looked at this place, which is an estate, which is part of a beautiful park, Marquand Park, which is an arboretum. And I used to walk my kids when they were like little here, when we used to live in town back in the 90s. So this estate has been here for years, and I knew back in the 70s that they made it into condominiums. So there were like 5 condos, and they hardly ever come on the market, and one happened to come on, and we were very excited about it. So we came over, we looked at it. We didn't think it was going to be around much longer, so we jumped on it, and we love it. I mean, it's small, turnkey. You know, we have a home in the vineyard, so we travel a lot, we work a lot, so, you know, this is perfect. What drew me to this was the floors, because they're these beautiful parquet floors and the high ceilings. We have these 12-foot high ceilings, so it just felt very European to me, and I, used to sell a lot of European antiques and still own a lot, so I just felt like this was perfect for us. And it has a beautiful terrace. We just sort of just updated everything because the bones were here and it's a beautiful place. So it's really about just the wallpaper and painting and furnishing. So that's pretty much all we did. I do a lot of collecting, so I have a lot of like zebra Staffordshire collection. I have a lot of books. I love books. And my style, I think it would be, for me, it's just all the things that I love to buy. It's a definite mix. It's got contemporary and old and traditional, so just that whole mix kind of probably makes it more of like a transitional, but old world, definitely European vibe. So that's what I was going for, and that's what I think we accomplished too. So that's a good thing. Welcome to my living room. This is the main hub of the house. I love this room because of the ceilings, and I wanted to accent the ceiling by putting the gold wallpaper. I had the chandelier from my last house in my dining room, so I wanted to bring it over. It's from Holly Hunt, and I love it. So we've also built these built-ins and painted them black, high gloss black, for all my collectibles and, zebras and books and things like that. We didn't do anything with the fireplace. It's all original. I did mirror the back wall and had my artist paint a little Greek key around it just to give it some interest. This is an artist in Trenton, New Jersey, and they have the Arts Council of Princeton here, and we bought this, I think I bought this about 15 years ago at one of their art shows. So I just thought it was amazing. So we've had this, and we decided to put that there and work everything around it, which is why, all the black and white obviously is, I brought the drapes in with this fabric because of my zebras. And the green strié walls, I just wanted to have green in here. Everything was yellow before when we first moved in, so I just wanted to get rid of all the yellow, all the moldings, and just like a nice clean white. This piece here, which I've had forever, is my office, believe it or not. Everything inside is all my books and my catalogs and samples and everything like that, because And this wallpaper is a Schumacher, which is great. So I just hid the chicken wire with the wallpaper. But everything inside that is, you don't want to know. It's just office stuff. I just been collecting Staffordshire zebras for years. I had a lot more, but I lost a few in the move. So, and that's just something I've been doing for years. So it's like one of my little, you know, when I'm antiquing or going to any kind of flea markets, I'm always looking for little zebras. So that's why I have so many. I don't really have much of a method. I mean, I do love to stack my books, and then I love to put an object or something on top of it, whether it's books or magazines. So I do a lot of that, and you'll see, and I bring in pictures, like family photos, all over the place. Well, these pieces here, these are Modigliani's, and they're very valuable pieces of art. So that was important for me to just stack them there as you leave or come in, so they're noticeable. And this French chest I've had, which I love, but these are just, again, just things that I collect. This lamp was a great guy in New Hope who used to do these beautiful lamps. They no longer are around, but I have a lot of these little lamps, as you'll see when you go around the apartment. Well, I do mix up the seating. So sometimes I put the sofa and I face that to the fireplace, and I put the chairs over there. So it depends. Like in the wintertime, I change all this around, but in the summer and in this, you know, spring and fall, it's just more open to have it like this. So, you know, I had this beautiful sofa, so I definitely wanted to use it. It was high. Yeah, and I just think with the flow, you need to be able to get in and out of this. I work in this room, so like for me, it was just about functionality pretty much, and being practical about how I placed everything so that I could really get people in and out and move around, because when we have a lot of friends and guests and entertain, it's important to keep it open around the fireplace, because we always have fires in the wintertime. This is all original. Yeah, it's so beautiful. All we did was just clean up the floor and polish it. I mean, it was in perfect shape. They had lots of rugs here, the previous owners. So I just love these parquet floors. I mean, they're just beautiful. So that is really the reason that we bought the place, to be honest. Because it's an old building, we couldn't do recessed lights in the ceiling, so the chandelier was obviously a focal point. Lower lighting with the sconces on the built-ins, and lamps were really important. We have incredible natural light. After about 1 o'clock, it just floods in. So, I mean, it's really so special when you don't need any of the lights on, actually. You get a lot of great natural light, especially with the terrace and everything. A lot of these things I had this red lacquer coffee table, so that just kind of sits on its own. I don't know, I just kind of bring everything together. Nothing really, I mean, it's not like matchy-matchy, which I don't like anyway, but it's just textures and pieces that I love, and that's kind of how it all just kind of works. We definitely needed outdoor space, and it's nice. It's like 15 by 35 feet. It's a beautiful terrace. And again, it kind of overlooks these huge trees that are part of, a lot of them are just incredible. So we put the planters in, but these benches were here. They were custom made by the previous owners, so we just painted them gray, put new cushions and pillows. But basically, this was also here, which was really nice. We just did a built-in in the back to put all sort of like receptacles and trash and things like that in. But we pretty much hang out here. This is kind of our chill area. So when we entertain, we set this up as a bar. We like to eat out here. So it's great. I mean, it's a beautiful space. I had this beautiful table from my last home, this garden piece. So I decided to have something when you're in the living room, you can see a beautiful arrangement with a round table. So this is sort of one section. And then under the awning, we did the whole seating area, which works out nice because it gets very hot here. So having the awning, getting away from the heat and the sun is good. So then the third section is where we eat. If we come outside, that's the library door, so we can come out here from the kitchen and we can eat here. And it works out really nice. And we can set up that as a buffet as well. So, and you can fit a lot of people here because you have the benches, we have the seating here, we got chairs here. So even in the wintertime, we put heaters out here, and all, like Christmas, we had a big Christmas party, so we heated it up. Keep the two doors open, so it's a great little flow through. You can go into the living room and then into the library, closing off the kitchen if you have it being catered. So it's kind of really nice that you have a flow. This is just, it's like an extra room for us for the apartment. So it works out really well. Welcome to the entry of my home. I guess the entry, which is what I love the most about this house, is they have all these architectural elements that are beautiful. We have this dome on the ceiling, which is actually made of glass, believe it or not. I had this star fixture, so we thought that would be beautiful just because the dome, the star, and again, that color, bringing the color in from the living room as well. It's all hand painted. This is a hand-painted mural that I had my artist do, which I kind of was struggling on what to do in here, whether a mural wallpaper, but then I just decided to have my guy paint a mural. Very subtle with the leaves and just tone on tone. And because the floor, again, black and white, we decided to do something that really pops when you walk in. So I had him paint our floor, which I love. And then my art and a couple pieces. So yeah, I mean, this is a pretty small entrance, but we love it. This is a heirloom piece, antique chest from my family, and I love it. It's, you know, beautiful burl wood. The mirror is, a lot of these things are pieces that were in my old house, so just kind of bringing them in here and making them work really worked, because I mean, I just love having things that I've cherished for years and years and years. And so it was really nice that they could fit, which is great. This is like an old Biedermeier piece that I've had forever. It was the first piece I bought when I was very young. And I keep bringing it everywhere with me because I love it. I have an attachment to it. Again, this is the guy from New Hope with his lamps, which so beautiful. And I've had these coin frames for a long time. I just love bringing, you know, different pieces and artifacts that I can add into my thing, I guess. I don't like my look. I don't know. It's like, and again, stacking books. I'm all about stacking books and putting objects on them. So this is a beautiful sculpture that I love and I collect. Well, I grew up one of 5, and my mother was an interior designer. So she was in Philadelphia. She did a lot of work in Wilmington and Washington, D.C. So I always loved that whole creative side of what she was doing, and she was a big collector, big art dealer, and I just kind of got drawn into that. So for me, it was kind of a natural transition, you know, as I got older. My other sisters went into different, you know, careers, but for me, it was always about kind of working. I worked with her for 10 years in Philadelphia, and then from there, I started my own business in Princeton, and yeah, I took it from there. But yeah, she taught me everything I knew. The experience was great. So I always knew that I was going to go into this business for sure. Well, I always say, like, first impressions are lasting. So like for me, when you're walking into someone's home, I think that is the most important thing, because, you know, whether it's painted floors or, you know, a mural on the walls or a beautiful sculpture or just, you know, an incredible light fixture, I think that is kind of the key to me. Welcome to my very small kitchen. This is just perfect for my husband and I because, again, we like to cook a lot, but we're, you know, in and out a lot too. So what I decided to do in this kitchen, because it was all white, was just to paint and high gloss all the cabinets and do this beautiful scalamandre paper in the panels, and just to add some more judge and just like the rest of the apartment, just maximalism. So the color of these cabinets it's a Farrow and Ball color, studio green, and now they have these high gloss kind of lacquer colors that you can, well, the colors, but the finishes now with Farrow and Ball. So I just decided to go green because we had the green in the living room, and I wanted the transition to go into the library with just making sure that it all worked because it's a small space. So, and it did. And this backsplash actually was here. So we were working with the marble backsplash as well. So anyway, this is the kitchen, and it works for us, so that's good. I keep showing you my little lamps because they're from my guy in New Hope that's no longer there. But this is, because of a Princeton tiger, this is a little Princeton, ode to Princeton, but again, the hand-painted shade. And I just love to, bring in lower lighting and paintings on my counter. So this is the library, which also can be a pull-out for guests, like in case one of my kids comes to visit, and we can put them in here. But my husband, this is more or less his room. He's a musician, so I've got the guitars up there, all these guitars that he's collected. He plays guitar like every day, so he's got all his guitars. He reads a lot about different musicians, and this is basically his room. We usually have this all set up with his computers because he works from here. But I just, again, brought all my books in, added some pictures and candles and flowers. But this is a, small but comfortable. We hang out in here after dinner. We just totally cozy up, watch TV. This is what this room is all about. And again, all my art from like everywhere. So these built-ins were all here, which was nice. So I wanted this room to be gold, and I had this rug, which I love. So we pulled the gold off of this, had my guy paint, did the red ceiling just to give it some oomph, and all our collection of art, some travel art, which is photographs from Ireland that we traveled to. And, I had this piece that I bought years ago, which I love, and that sort of set the tone. We did a grass cloth with Philip Jeffries glass on the back. It was a friend of mine who passed away, and he was a very funky artist, so it was probably a game board, and then he did a lot of this gold leafing etching on the glass, which is super cool. So my husband's parents used to entertain a lot of artists from Latin America, and so some of these pieces are theirs, or he has inherited. This is a great piece of Manhattan painted in the 60s. Don't bump into yourself in here. It's definitely great. The previous owners, I think they had a friend. I was told that Seward Johnson lived here for a short period of time, who is a sculptor, and he did this whole thing. He mirrored everything. I mean, even this is like, your little medicine cabinet. So everything is mirrored, and as an homage, we are keeping it mirrored because I think it's so cool. So this was done back in the original time in the 70s. So it is great. I mean, a lot of people like it. So it's instead of having a crazy wallpaper, we just have all mirrors, so you can get to look at yourself. So it's good. So we love the bedroom. It overlooks the formal garden, which is part of Guernsey Hall, which it's such a beautiful day, and I get to look at this gorgeous fountain, and it's beautiful. And the bedroom, it sort of all started with this mirror, I think, because I bought this mirror first, and then I decided, you know what, I'm just going to kind of key off the colors and just keep it very serene and soft. Again, it's sort of like a lot of things that I had in my previous house. Although I did buy a new bed in here because of the high ceilings, we thought we'd just do like a really great 4-poster, and I always have it made up because I love my bedding. It's Matouk, which is great. These are a collection papier-mâché that I bought at a antique store in Palm Beach that I love from my travels, Casa Gusto. And the art is just all personal art that I've collected over the years. So it's, you know, pretty meaningful because I got rid of a lot of my pictures and kept the most important ones that I like. And I clutter a lot with my photos and keeping things light with my little Swedish dresser. So as you can see, I keep everything out. My jewelry is out, my purses are out, but I do hide my clothes and my shoes, so it's all good. I knew, because of the high ceilings, that I wanted to have a collection of something, and it did take a while for me to find the papier-mâché pieces up there. So I knew I wanted something straight across that made sense, and just to give it height. And that's another reason I sort of like hung everything a little higher because of the height, and I just love accenting all the height in this apartment. So the tapestry was something I bought at an auction and then just had it framed, just stretched, and that again brought sort of that closet some height. So yeah, I think it's really about the height when I was hanging all my art. And special pieces that I love above my bed, yes, that's a Picasso, which is a limited edition, which is beautiful. I've had that forever. It was, and I, you know, I don't know, I love all my little pieces of art. This is the common area to Guernsey Hall. So these are the apartments, as you can see. And this is all original. They had an artist from Italy come in way back when they renovated the place. I think it was 1973. And it's just beautiful. I mean, it's beautiful to be able to come home and to walk up these stairs and go into the apartment. And this gorgeous ceiling, you can't even, I mean, you gotta hit the ceiling because it's spectacular. Home is just, for me, it's all about comfort, and it's about being around my family, being in a safe space. I mean, I travel a lot with my clients in Florida. Like, coming home is just, it's just great because I can relax and I can just be me. You know, I feel like, you know, when you're running around a lot, I think home means more and more as you get older because it's just your comfort space, your safe space, you know, so that's sort of what home means to me. See you later, Homeworthy. Thanks for stopping by.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Eric.
I'm Philip, and welcome to our home on Sutton Place.
Watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
I'm Eric Lysdahl, and I'm an interior designer based in New York as well as central New Jersey. And this is my partner, Philip. I'll let you introduce yourself.
Thanks. I'm Philip Norkeliunas, and I'm an international realtor based out of central New Jersey and also New York and soon to be Florida. I'm also a vintage jewelry dealer internationally, with specializing in 18th century silver as well. And together, Eric and I have been enjoying sharing our homes and our lifestyle and entertaining as beautifully and graciously and as fun as possible.
Hopefully inspiring a few people along the way. So
we wanted to be back in the city. We had lived here many years ago when we were beginning our careers. And I had lived in Europe for a while, and Eric also was here, but we decided to come back to the city, having lived in New Jersey in the last 2 years.
And we have a very active social life in New York, so to drive in from New Jersey 2 and 3 nights a week, and often having to spend the night in a hotel. I mean, much as we love the Lowell, we don't want to be residents there, and it's pricey, so it just made sense to get a place that would be a pied-à-terre in Manhattan.
Well, and we started looking again on the Upper East Side. That's where I had been for about 15 years when I finished graduate school, and that's also where Eric was, just a few blocks from me all those years ago, up in the...
17 years on Madison Avenue.
Yeah. And we loved this area, and then we discovered that a lot of the townhouses we liked had very rickety staircases, and they were walk-ups and really didn't quite fit our needs. And then we found on 57th Street a building with a 24-hour doorman and elevator in a recently renovated 1929 sort of classical building. And we were on Sutton Place, where I have a lot of dear friends.
And a wood-burning fireplace. I mean, that's really why we were looking in older buildings, because we wanted some height to the rooms. And we found a 20th century building with a wood-burning fireplace in it. So Philip, you loved this space, this entry space in this pre-war apartment, which is wonderful because they were actually designed to be multi-purpose and serve as kind of a mini dining area. And I think back in the day, they typically would have like a console table that would flip out, and they would use folding chairs for dining chairs and set up for a dinner. But what we did is we kind of treated this in a way that it would suit two functions, where you have this table that's almost like a center table. It's a pedestal table, Art Deco with lucite reeded base and this terrazzo top. And these ghost chairs, or knockoff ghost chairs, if you will, these are great because they can be stacked and get tucked into a closet. So if we were to have a dozen people here for cocktails, we could have a floral arrangement in here and have some hors d'oeuvres on this, and people can very freely walk through here and be served drinks and whatnot. So.
And comfort is key. I mean, these are ergonomically designed to hug one's lower back, and they're very comfortable if you're sitting here for a few hours. They're also reminiscent or evocative of a Louis XVI style chair of the 18th century. So they have dialogue with some of the other French pieces in the apartment, and they take a lot of abuse. They're kind of casual looking, and they're fun, and yeah, kind of like them.
And the cheetah pattern rug is just kind of a innocuous little addition of texture, and it's another wink to Elsie de Wolfe and Tony Duquette. So they were in my foremost in my mind, I think, when I was selecting elements here. And then this wonderful light fixture, which when we walked out of Kips Bay and you saw this in the window at Jonathan Adler, you had to have it. And I think it's great in here. It's perfect.
Yeah, it reminds me of almost of a sea creature, a jellyfish or something. It's organic looking, and it's also sort of Art Deco, and I love the cabochon, again, moonstones. I mentioned the moonlight that comes through the windows at night here. You know, this is sort of a poetic piece.
And vaguely Art Deco in a way, kind of with the basin shape and those globes on it.
Yeah, and casual.
Yeah. Well, as this is a rental apartment, because we weren't sure how long we would stay here, or if we'd like this neighborhood, or if we found something better, or what have you, you can't start putting expensive wallpapers and the kind of things that we would like to do, for example, like we did in the country. So I just can't abide a plain wall, though. I have to have some kind of texture and some kind of rhythm going on. So opted to do a stripe pattern that's actually painted. So this is actually decorative paint. You paint the ground color, the light color first, and then when it's dry, you tape out the stripes and paint your dark color over, and then remove the taping. So it's fairly simple, it's just very time consuming, but what it does is when you enter this doorway here into this vestibule, you've got a rhythm that continues through to the sunken living room, and it really does to sort of not only expand the depth of the space, but also give an illusion of greater height. And we do actually have some height to work with here. I mean, they've got a good 9 or 10 feet in the living room with the recess.
And then the art, again, we wanted to stay with more fun, contemporary sort of a theme. I found these Roy Lichtenstein prints that I just loved. they're just amusing. And I loved Superman when I was a child. It was my hero, and primary colors. And this one says, "I'm supposed to report to Mr. Bellamy, and I wonder what he's like." It has some connotations of, well, humor, and it's fun. So, but then we found these engravings. This actually, I didn't mean for these to remain in the apartment, but they filled the wall nicely. This is from a scene in 1745. It's the marriage of the Dauphin of France to Marie Theresa, the Infanta of Spain. Sadly, she passed away in childbirth a year later, but this is the most important rendering of what life at the court of Versailles was like in the 18th century, and it's by an engraver called Cochin. And it's the Hall of Mirrors, and everyone is in a magnificent costume dress, and all of the lustres, the chandeliers are full of candles, and it's just one of the most sumptuous interiors ever engraved of Versailles, of its time. And we found these recently at Doyle's at the Dalva Brothers sale. And Dalva Brothers, for many decades, were the leading vendors of 18th century continental furniture in the world. So this was a bit of an homage to Dalva Brothers in the 18th century here. So. And
you were saying to a friend of ours when you were describing these that this was the Instagram of the 18th century, because these engravings were done and they were distributed to every court in Europe. And they went abroad, and this was to really publicize, the splendor of Versailles and the court of the French kings. And so most people would never be able to actually see this room. So this kind of imagery going out across Europe was, like a big PR thing for them as well.
As a folio, these were large folio books, and engravings were done of state occasions, peace accords, summits of those times, funerary masses, and
the
concerts.
Their wedding here in the Royal Chapel at Versailles.
So it's really what the high media would have been of the time period. So now we'll go into the living room, where I can talk a little more about the contemporary art that we are displaying. So the centerpiece of the room really is this work by Gonzalez de la Calle, and it's a work that I found in India many years ago at the Delhi International Art Fair, and I fell in love with it. I've always loved sheep ever since I was a small boy in Williamsburg, visiting the flocks there, and there's a great sort of feeling of peace and innocence in this painting. And there are some other themes too that I found very personal and evocative. I find him to be a very talented artist, and I've enjoyed following his work since 2016. And then there's some other things in the room that I love. I found this work by a famous Cuban artist. This is by Humberto Dionisio, and sadly he passed away only in his 30s. But he trained in Cuba and moved to Miami, and this is one of his paintings of, I believe, John the Baptist. I love Keith Haring, have to have some of his work. I thought he was such a brilliant artist who made art so accessible to the general public through incredible art installations. And when I was in college, my college roommate gave me this work. This is by Keith Haring, done in 1988, but it's the National Coming Out Day poster, and I can still see my roommate Eloy opening our closet door in our dorm room and imitating this figure and hearing his infectious laugh. It was just wonderful. And so I treasure this as a memento of my college days and the wonderful friendship I have with Eloy. And then the other work that I love in the room, this is a fellow called Hank Hudson, and Eric and I found this work in Provincetown 2 summers ago. I love it because it's called Herring Cove Beach, and in my youth I also frequented Herring Cove Beach, and it just reminds me of many fun, sun-filled afternoons by the seaside, where I made many friends. So we have some other works here. I have Kazimir Malevich. I love his work as well. And Eric, you love this piece.
With the Vasarely, yeah, because it's architecture, it almost looks like a kind of a scene from the opening of Mad Men, where you can just picture the man falling with the postmodern buildings in the backdrop. And at the end of the day, the blues, it all works, in terms of the scheme of the room. So it just adds a little visual interest and nothing terribly personal.
This piece is something that we found in Boston together. And the eboniste is a fellow called Ferdinand Beurry. And Beurry was one of the most important cabinet makers of 18th century France. He worked with Martin Carlin and also Henri Riesner in creating very masculine architectural neoclassical pieces. This is made out of acajou moucheté, which is a form of mahogany. It's like a plum pudding mahogany grain. And mahogany was so rare in the 18th century that they decided not to over-embellish it with gilt bronze ormolu. So this piece is very reserved, very masculine, very fine lines, and almost modern, its execution. So I thought it would be nice to have this to complement the Russian abaton, the desk in the
Secretary.
In the corner there, and continued a little bit with the mahogany sort of natural wood theme in the apartment. Eric took a lot of the work on himself for this project. We found pieces, we spent time driving the pieces in together. We found this piece in Boston, we found that table in Massachusetts also. We had to coordinate having things delivered to a building that has a very short window for deliveries too.
Right.
It's a little complicated in terms of doing it ourselves. But Eric did, I would say, 97% of this project.
And it's a one-bedroom apartment, so how much can you really put in here? The most time-consuming thing was the painting of this space. That really was, and then I operate quickly. I kind of chose things, ran it by you approved it, and ordered, and it was just a question of getting things together. So it really came together in 2 months.
But you weren't afraid to do really bold things.
Right.
I
had to talk you into the
the
striping.
envelope, which is great for me because I'm kind of stodgy about some things, and and it's wonderful because it's a mix of both of our tastes, and you made it fun and beautiful.
Thank you. Since we weren't determined on how long we wanted to try this neighborhood out, or we opted for a rental building, and that just gave us some flexibility. And the drawback to that is there are limitations as to what you can do with it. Wallpaper would have been out of the question, so the striped walls were decorative painted, and that's something that's very easily painted over if you decide to move out and give the unit back. So that was definitely a consideration. There weren't going to be any major construction or finish things that we were going to be leaving behind. So it was really going to be probably more object driven and what we could do with paint. So as I said, painted the walls, striped, decorative painted, gives a little an illusion of height to the room, and this darker saturation of color allows the moldings that are already here, like the fireplace and the baseboards, to sort of pop on their own in the white. And then as far as furnishings, we use some things that we already have. I basically started the color scheme with this pair of 18th century Louis XV chairs that had this marvelous fabric. Philip, you had this done for your London apartment, and it's a beautiful gaufraged velvet. And unfortunately, they were in our library in New Jersey on the second floor, and they were never seen, let alone sat in. And so I said, well, why don't we bring those to New York, and then I'll work the wall color around that. I didn't want it to be an all blue space. I wanted it to have a gem-like quality because this is like a jewel box. It's, we're in a small space. It's a one-bedroom apartment. So I thought, well, sapphire blue, and we'll throw in some emerald green, and I even found an emerald-shaped mirror to put over the fireplace in green glass. And then kind of just took it from there with accessorizing with malachite, which is a semi-precious stone, and some rock crystal accessories on the table beside us. So that's really kind of, that was the direction. And then there were a few antique pieces from Philip's collection that we brought in, and then we mixed it up with some modern things to keep it younger and a little bit more urban and give it more of a New York vibe. So what was it? We were coming out of the Kips Bay Show House and Jonathan Adler's flagship stores right on the corner, and that caught your eye, which surprised me because the traditionalist here with his 18th century everything, you were drawn to the pieces in Jonathan Adler, and so we incorporated some of that in the apartment.
Well, they were fun pieces. They were contemporary. They were attractive and very beautiful, I thought, with the colors and the contemporary finishes, and they were fun. I thought, why don't we mix in more humorous, fun, beautiful things with the 18th century? And then I decided we would have nothing but contemporary art in the apartment, which is also wonderful.
Yeah.
It's a real break from the more conservative side of myself.
Yeah, no old masters in this one.
Oh, it was great. So we had fun with Jonathan Adler, and his style seems to work very well with our color schemes as well, and kind of our lifestyle now. We're more relaxed. I don't take myself as seriously as I did years ago. I mean, life goes on and
comes with age.
Surround yourself with things that bring you joy
and
and have a sense of humor, and some things that instill memories, of course. Some sentimental things.
And if everything's too precious, you don't own it; it owns you. So, and like with the Jonathan Adler, it actually tied into the whole gem notion of the philosophy of the apartment. Like this cabinet here with these marvelous blue cabochons. They're like sapphire cabochons on the doors. And then we have a light fixture from the same collection. I think it's called Globo. And that's in our entrance/dining area. And that also has the cabochon gems on it.
It's a very sunny apartment also. We get moonlight coming through the windows at night, as well as the sun. And of course, one has to adjust to the Alfred Hitchcock rear window effect.
Yes, yeah.
Because we can observe our
neighbors that you can see
on
again,
their penthouse terrace there. It's a little awkward sometimes if we're both out and about, but we're very respectful of other people's privacy, of course.
That's a New York thing.
Yeah.
You just get accustomed to it. Everyone's used to that.
I never would have chosen this color for a sofa or this design, and it's fabulous. I mean, it holds you, it comforts you. It's also, for me, I saw it and I thought, oh my God, that is so Star Wars. It is so, space age in a way, and yet it worked with the malachite, and it was, brilliant, I thought.
Well, with the blue walls, with the dark color, I would have probably, my first instinct to it, I would have liked a lighter sofa, maybe a whiter off-white. But we are in Manhattan, and no matter how good your windows are, there is a type of dust that makes its way through even the tightest windows. And I know that, like, in a year, it would look dingy. And then plus that, then you feel precious about sitting on it. Like, if either of us wants to have our shoes on and just sprawl there, come in and flop down on it after a day of shopping or what have you, I mean, you can do it, and it can take the abuse. And at night, the dark green velvet looks clubby and masculine and vaguely English, and that, kind of suits us.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm still fussy about these chairs, though, because I had these for over 20 years, and they were a wreck before I had them recovered in London. And this is razor cut velvet in the chrysanthemum pattern with down cushions, and it's just so over the top. So I'm getting used to using them.
You told me what you paid to have them upholstered in London, and I'm like, no one sits in them. No, honestly.
No,
it's a down-filled cushion, and it's all puffy like this, and it's like falling into a marshmallow. It's wonderful. They're very comfortable, and they're wide. So, I mean, big guys like us can sit in this and not feel like we're going to break something.
It's great. Enjoy it.
The andirons you had in London, great. I love the overscale with the kind of small dwarfed mantelpiece, and left the mantle as it was. I was kind of tempted to like zhuzh it up a little bit. I'm like, no, I just leave it alone. The white, it kind of just fades into the background. And Philip had those wonderful candelabrum that were in his, were those in
I had these in the bedroom of my house called Blairston years ago, and I just love them because they're neoclassical.
And we picked that clock up together, and I thought, okay, it's going to start reading really formal. And I knew of this mirror. I'd used it in other projects. It's from a company called Villa and House, formerly known as Bungalow 5. They do it in a cobalt blue and an amethyst, and then an antiqued mirror version. And initially I was thinking the blue, and I thought it's just too much blue on blue, and we wanted to carry this whole emerald effect, to carry the green. So I think that was a successful foil there, and it's got a modernism that's a foil to this ornate ormolu thing going on here.
And it's like emeralds. It's like
they're actually, it's like a gem.
Faceted large brooch or something.
Yeah.
Great.
The fireplace. I had mentioned that my maxim was we had to have a fireplace. I think you wanted that too. So we were looking at townhouse apartments, Princeton, and the problem, they had tiny, tiny bedrooms that you wouldn't even be able to fit a queen-size bed in. And they were usually walk-ups, and we can't be inviting the kind of people that we have for clients and friends. You can't have them come into a walk-up. So, and we had to do a reality check that we were going to have to be in a doorman building. So we found this great 20s building, saw the fireplace. I assumed that maybe it had been a gas one or it was just decorative. And shortly after taking the apartment, a handyman from the building was in here, and I said, were they gas? He said, no, they burn wood. I'm like, what do you mean they burn wood? He's like, yeah, they burn wood, just make sure the damper's open. Yeah. And it was like this like the heavens opened up. Oh my God, we have a working fireplace. And I said, people use them, everybody uses them, he said. So we're looking forward, we have not lit it yet.
Probably a Duraflame for the first time, something simple.
And should probably get a grate to lay over that.
Screen or something.
Yeah, but that'll be a fun thing. We're going into fall now, and we'll be having wonderful holiday entertainments here, so.
This to me, because we don't have another room for an office, we had to think, where were we going to have a desk? And so I had this small secrétaire à bâton desk in sort of a Russian style, also influenced by the work of David Röntgen. But it's just a really intimate writing desk where I can write thank you notes and all sorts of things. It does close nicely. So if we want to create more space in the room, we can have it closed, and it will show off the mahogany and the ebony of this piece, but it's sort of a nice sort of directoire 1790s piece, 1800. And it came from the Marché aux Puces in Paris. So it has a nice memory of selecting this for when I had an apartment in Paris. So nice to be an EU citizen and have some pieces to remind me of the fact that I'm a global citizen still. Malachite theme, this was a box I bought when I was in Senegal, when I was in my early 20s, in my college days. And other malachite pieces. Eric presented me with a lot of these pieces as gifts, and I have a malachite elephant here, which was a gift from my brother. And yeah, it's a useful piece. It holds a lot of stationery and files. Again, we're in a small apartment, so we need to find lots of storage space in the furniture. So
in terms of contemporary furnishing choices to mix in, another wonderful Jonathan Adler piece from his Globo collection, and we love because of these gem-like cabochons in it, and the white lacquer. It's very streamlined, and I love the perky little sort of 50s metal legs on it. And it's useful. This doubles for our entertaining purposes. So we've got a bar on one side, and then we have things for doing afternoon tea and coffee. On the other, we have like the better china glasses and the silver gilt tea service, and then we have all the crystal and some liquor down there. And this serves its function in this room for our entertaining purposes. And then, for example, lighting. So we had to carry some contemporary lighting through here. And this is a great fixture, incredibly simple design from Arteriors. And I forget the name of it, but it's just, they're just gilt iron discs, that are lit inside. And it just casts a wonderful glow. And actually, when you're sitting on the sofa, when you're lower looking up at it, it's a marvelous lit sculptural piece. And now that I'm looking at it, I think it looks like we're being invaded by UFOs. You've got, close encounters of the third kind here in the entry. I'm waiting for the beams to come down and the music to start, and then this looks like something from Plan 9 from outer space
or Star Trek.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It's or the Death Star or something. We've got these spaceship light fixtures in here, so.
And a touch of gold.
Exactly.
You never have too much.
Yeah, always. So the rug, this is a woven sisal in a it's like a Greek key put on an axis to create these diamond lozenge patterns. And it's a classic design that's used by a lot of decorators. I bought this online from Safaviya. I found the Ottomans online from Safaviya. So there were a lot of price-friendly, user-friendly things that were easily and quickly accessible that we could purchase to mix with the antiques and get this place finished, in a short amount of time so we could start enjoying it. So this is another find that we had to run up to Massachusetts for. I just by chance found this. Actually, a friend alerted me to it. It's a gilt bronze gueridon table. And the objects that are on these three pieces are by a Brazilian artist called, it's actually a group, I think it was 3 women called Grupo Gal, and they're from the 80s or 90s, and it's sterling silver with these chunks of natural mineral rock crystal on them. And this one's actually a piece of amethyst, it's very pale. But this one was presented to me as a birthday gift by a top antique dealer in Brazil called Marcos Rezende. And then when I was visiting him in Brazil, I found the other 2. And that's mixed in with a couple pieces of Lalique, and then found these wonderful lamps from Curry & Company, and they have the beautiful sort of curved cabochon bullions on them that kind of mimic the Jonathan Adler pieces. And then, of course, naturally, these wonderful handmade lampshades by Ron at Illume, and it's done in vintage Tony Duquette malachite fabric. So again, we've got the Tony Duquette, Elsie DeWolf combination going on with the influences here.
Some other Jonathan Adler pieces we loved that day when we came out of the Kips Bay Show House, we saw this lamp, and I just loved the cubism of it. It's just the angles, the feel of it. It's so unlike anything I've ever owned. And I just thought it was such a contrast with the 18th century, and it's fun, it's new, it's jarring and
little edgy.
Yeah, great shape. Yeah. And then we found some other items that Jonathan Adler had done in the past. I found this online, this wonderful box with the colors and the lacquer. And then this I absolutely fell in love with. I just think he's so talented. As a potter and ceramicist. Love the color and the little touch of platinum, and again the dots with the dots of the Hank Hudson. And then we even found this little homage to Jeff Koons at our favorite local TJ Maxx. So we can
Do we shop in TJ Maxx?
Yeah, we shop everywhere. What I'm very impressed with Eric as an interior designer is his ability and talent to arrange things quickly and beautifully. He has great instinct for assembling collections of objects and use of light and fabric and texture. He was respectful of all of my previous collections and integrated those in with his own ideas of contemporary furniture and uses of space. I don't think we had any conflicts of
No,
of
because you just
objects.
gave me carte blanche.
Well, absolutely, it's a breath of fresh
You were in
air.
a panic about the wall color in the living room at first until you
that
actually
is
saw it
true.
on the wall and then realized it wasn't going to inhibit the light in here, because with these giant windows, we're flooded with light. And then this decor is really geared for nighttime entertaining when you have paintings that are lit with picture lights and table lamps with a low light setting, and you're having cocktails with people and you want a more clubby, softer mood.
You're absolutely right. I was originally against this striping in this dark color, and it really isn't that dark when it was finally put up on the walls.
Yeah.
But the original apartment was all white, and it was very light and airy, and I thought, oh boy, this is going to be jewel box.
Landlord white, we're not living with landlord white.
No.
But
so it's perfect. It's masculine. It's, you know, pays homage to the Regency period and some of my, you know, directoire and neoclassical French pieces,
and then we've got 20th century legend, you know, people that we've nodded to. For example, Elsie de Wolfe had a townhouse on Sutton Place, and there's kind of an homage to Elsie de Wolfe here, and Tony Duquette, which was her great protege, famous decorator and decorative artist in California. And in fact, the lampshades on either side of the sofa here are vintage Tony Duquette fabric in the malachite print that we found through a great source of mine and an old friend, Ron at Illume Lampshades. He had those made from vintage fabric. And yeah, there's kind of like, there's a thread of history of Sutton Place and designers and the decorative arts that come through. But to give my due, I did hand you the fan deck and you were allowed to choose the wall color for the bedroom.
that is true. I chose shrimp pink, which was a very comforting color, which actually now is more orange when you see the
Depends on the
accessories
light.
that Eric has chosen.
Yeah.
And I love the use of malachite and sapphire emerald colors in the apartment. Being a vintage jewelry dealer, you know, these are stones that mean a lot to me, and they're my favorite colors, especially the malachite. I've always been a fan of neoclassical Russian objects from the early 19th century, and you know, here we have wonderful examples of malachite now in the apartment.
Yeah.
Sort of a lucky color and a lucky stone.
It is.
If I could describe this apartment in one word, I would say chic.
God bless you. I mean, I can't. Is jewel box one word or two? I mean, that was really what I was going for, the aesthetic, because it's small, it's condensed, it's compressed. There's a lot of color and saturation and you know, shiny objects and references to jewelry. So and those are kind of my favorite spaces to do. I mean, my first apartment was on the Upper East Side in a brownstone, and that was published a couple of times. And again, jewel box. It was a one-bedroom apartment, but you know, I had height, I had a fireplace, I had things to work with architecturally, and of course, you know, you've had some much larger spaces that you've lived in, but they were definitely jewel boxes in terms of the kind of collections you had in them. So. The one design detail that I allowed you was you got to pick the color of the wall. And so, handing you the fan deck.
I said shrimp pink because my first bedroom in New York, I lived in a Stanford White townhouse between 78th and 79th on 5th. And my bedroom belonged to Georgie de Heredia back in 1905. And it was a decorator's show house in the 80s, and they put this beautiful color on the walls. And I woke up to this color, and it's just refreshing, it's soothing, and it's not quite pink, it's not quite salmon, but it's a warm color. And it's something I've had in my bedroom in London, and also now
in Florida.
Here.
In Florida, too.
Oh, in Florida as well.
Yeah.
You're right. So thank you for allowing me that.
Yeah, that one
eccentricity.
Well, then again, we got into, like, because this is so soft and light compared to the living room, I didn't want it to be schizophrenic. but that space is for public entertaining, and it's primarily for evening entertaining. This is where you go to bed at night and where you wake up in the morning, and it should be soothing, calming. So Philip hit the ball out of the park with the color choice. And then I just went really minimal, like with the bed, a little drama with a taller headboard. Philip had these wonderful Baroque mirrors that were in his London apartment, and I think you had those in the Bahamas as well.
They survived the Hurricane Irma.
Yeah.
And they arrived in Florida covered in sand.
Yeah.
But they survived.
It's a bit of a Dorothy Draper kind of element to it. Again, I keep quoting all the names of all these famous 20th century decorators, and then found these cabinets to flank the bed, give us a little extra storage. Bit of an Art Deco influence with these, an Art Deco vase, and just
these
really,
chairs, these wonderful chairs.
Yeah, online, like not expensive at all, and found this wonderful iCat fabric online, did window treatments and some curtains, and a couple of pillow covers for it, and really, I mean, that's really all we needed in here. Another 30s element was, rather than having a carpet that covers the entire floor, you have the exposed wood floor, and then you just have these fur pelt rugs on either side of the bed. That's a classic kind of 30s design choice. And then bringing the malachite in here, Philip bought me these wonderful Stubbs & Wootton malachite needlepoint slippers. So there they are waiting for me to put on.
You can click them and say there's no place like home, and you end up here.
Where you're already home.
That's right.
So, yeah. I specified these wooden, white painted chests with fluted fronts that looked very Art Deco. And then when we decided we were bringing these mirrors in here, I thought, it's a little too much and too much of the white. And how am I relating? I had to bring a little color in because we have all the green in the window treatments. So, in the pinstriping on the embroidery of the linen's fine, but somehow I stumbled upon this cabinet online, and we got two of them, and I was actually pleasantly surprised by the finish. When you buy something online, you just never know what you're going to get. And I thought, well, the price point was fine, so, and if we didn't like it, it was no great loss.
Well, but we had to assemble them.
We had to assemble them. That was
80 pieces.
A nightmare. But all in, it's great storage, and it has kind of like a French 40s look to it, with this wonderful gilt sunburst, in relief on the doors, and then just sort of carried that theme with a really innocuous flush mount LED light fixture that has the same, gilt rays going on. So.
And I was in Florida the last 6 weeks, and preparing a residence there, and Eric called me and said, do you have any paintings that you'd like to put in the bedroom here in New York? And I didn't really have any idea. I said, why don't you look in the storage room and see what you can find? And lo and behold, Eric pulled out these two works that have a lot of sentimental value for me. This one is a portrait of John Roosevelt, the youngest son of FDR and Eleanor. And I was born in Hyde Park, New York, where the Roosevelt home is, Springwood. And this painting actually, I believe, was at Valkill. It was a treasured possession of Eleanor Roosevelt, and she gave it to her son, John. This painting also reminds me of my first dinner in New York back in the late 90s. I had been seated at a Sotheby's dinner for the Duke and Duchess of Windsor sale, and on my left was Mimi Rowanoff, and on my right was Irene Roosevelt Aiken, the wife of John Roosevelt. And I have to say, Mimi was a little shocked that she had been seated next to an unknown, peasant from, Hyde Park, New York. But Irene Roosevelt Aiken was so gracious and interested in everything we talked about, especially the Roosevelt family and the role her son played there. So that was a nice memory of meeting her. And I look at this portrait in the morning, and I see the shadow of Eleanor's face and also of FDR, and how much they did for this country, getting us through World War II and the Depression, and just incredible heroes for me. And then Eric found this painting, which we purchased from our friends Richard and Russell at A Touch of the Past, the antique store where I sell from in Lambertville, New Jersey. And it turns out, when I did research on the work, Carl Laughlin was a very important painter in Bucks County who only did landscapes. And this is his self-portrait. It's the only one that exists. And sort of a dashing fellow. He was also a very important bagpiper, if I'm saying that correctly.
Piper.
Piper, there you are. But very handsome fellow to look at also.
Just for that, you're losing your Scottish, Scots.
My Scots
your
card.
Scots
ID
membership card.
That's it.
Confiscating your kilt.
Yeah, well. So yeah, we have this other project. I have a house in Naples, Florida that's being redone, and we're trying to figure out how we want to do it. I mean, do we bring down, again, more traditional pieces, or do we start with a clean slate and do something very different?
I think it should be fresher. Yeah, we'll still always have a few antiques, but yeah, we need some more whimsy, I think.
Oh,
yeah,
totally.
And color.
This is so whimsical and different and new.
It's a 4-bedroom house, right?
Yeah, it's a 4-bedroom villa in Naples with
Mediterranean style, would you say?
Yeah,
stucco.
Almost like a villa, I guess you'd call it. It's large open spaces, high ceilings, water views, and very light and airy. The high ceilings are the real winner for me in this place. So we want to keep things very light, very airy, have some spaces that are a little more formal than others, but mostly relaxed, especially in the bedrooms, would you say?
Yeah. You think this is a little too much? It might put some of our guests off, I don't know.
Oh no, it's
a fertility kind of thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like a reference to fertility.
I think the
vases.
That's even better.
Yeah.
There's something almost sort of religious about them.
And I need this for the candy jar so that it's watching you when you're dipping into it all the time. There we go.
Would you do 2 of these on a sideboard, or would you just do the single?
I don't know.
On a table?
I don't know if I would do it at all. It might be a stretch for me.
I absolutely love it. Look at that. And it's porcelain, I think. It's great. But the light fixtures, I think, are great. Like something like that is.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun.
It almost has like a bamboo kind of like feeling to it, also. Right. That could work, don't you think?
Yeah, with chinoiserie motifs in the rest of the room. Why not?
That I think would be ideal.
I like the one further down over that center table where all the acrylic objects are. You see past that?
Oh, with the
let's go have a look at
metal,
that.
Yeah.
It's more of your lacquer boxes.
I'm liking this also. No?
Yeah, great little drink table.
Even for New York.
Yeah.
Do you think that would be good next to one of
next to the French chairs? Yeah, as a little drink table.
Would you do
2? I don't know if
one
we
on
need to.
each
Maybe just one at the far end.
Because it's so unique.
Yeah.
No, I really like this. Canon accent table.
Nice.
Let's remember that one too. But what do you think of these? I just think it's so humorous, no? Because someone's going to come in at a party and they're going to say, "I need one of these right now."
I love the humorous aspect of it and the whimsy. Yeah, maybe. You need a large table to put that on, though.
Yeah, and a bigger size? Or is this large enough?
A larger table. I mean, that could work.
I like the multicolor.
Yeah, multicolor, especially for Florida.
Would that be in the entry hall?
What about that in the great room?
That's a good idea
that
too.
Nickel fixture with
that's because you have the height in the space,
right?
And the chrome for it. Oh, it's my favorite lamp.
we selected this Globo fixture for our entry.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
just love this fixture.
More than delighted with that.
It's very organic and reminds me of moonstones and a cabochon sort of brooch, or even a jellyfish. It's almost nautical. That would be nice, in a Florida house too.
Do we want to repeat the same fixture there?
I don't mind that.
I like this
idea.
box. I think this would be nice on the coffee table now.
Yes, it would have dialogue with the commode,
Yeah.
the Jonathan Adler commode.
Yeah.
This is great. Look at this.
Yeah,
Is
it's
this
beautiful.
a bar cabinet or just a regular? It's a bar cabinet.
It's like a bar.
That's fabulous. No? What do you think of this
I like that.
glass geometric design?
This would be nice too.
You like the lamp?
Yeah, I do.
I like it that it's so sharp, too.
That's-
It's
Yeah.
great.
I'm afraid to touch it. But
Yeah. I don't know. I see
Great looking.
cubism. I see
they did a chandelier like that at one time,
Yeah.
a few years ago.
I think what I love about Jonathan Adler especially is his work with ceramics and how that's segued into other sort of design features and objects.
Yeah.
For furniture later on and lamps. I mean, everything is fun and unique and different and original.
But the designs are all very well informed about mid-century design, 20th century design, and there's a lot of whimsy, and that's truly, I think, the appeal is the whimsy, because it appeals to sort of all age levels, don't you think?
Well, I'm about to laugh my ass off at this fish. I mean,
Yeah.
it's really,
Yeah,
it's just great. And the elephant too, the whole thing is, it can be serious or it can be fun.
And look at these little groups of little dishes, a wonderful hostess gift.
Yes, cocktail, tail.
Yeah, great hostess gifts or to use for,
I love that.
yeah.
I think we have to get these. You can offer your guests some tail. Would you like some tail or
No. Let's keep it G
okay?
ready. Let's
Sorry.
keep it G rated.
G-rated. Okay. This is great for Florida. This is the crab,
Certainly.
Love
with the
that.
shells.
the lobster.
Yeah.
These look like cloisonne. Don't they look great? They look like they're lapis lazuli,
Yeah,
amethyst. These I would like. Do you like these?
I do.
All right, something to remember there too. Do you like this?
That's more interesting.
Which one?
The boomerang stuff.
That's great.
Yeah. Yeah, I love the boomerang shape here.
Would you do that against a flat wall like that?
Of course.
Or would you do it in a
of
corner?
course, you want it to you want it to pop out into the room.
How does that,
Furniture
how
is
does that feel?
sculpture.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's very comfortable. I have to say that. Wow. This really is one of my favorite pieces, though. I mean, it's almost like.
And the caned lamp behind you is nice, also for tropic.
But this reminds me of Picasso
Yeah.
or something, right? Like some of the Picasso ceramics. And its gilt. And great storage. That would be a nice sort of like contemporary dining room piece, no?
Well, we already bought something for that.
And these little objects too. I mean, could you imagine something so smooth having such sharp points on it?
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
it's almost
great.
like
These
a
are
mine.
These are beautiful too, the shapes.
I think we have to get a couple of these, no?
Yeah.
This is just gorgeous. Don't you think that would be nice for hors d'oeuvres?
Yeah, definitely.
Home is really a place where I can be with, of course, my most treasured loved one. It's a place also where I can recharge and absorb the world with whatever it hands me. And it's a place where I can either retreat, or it's a place where I can entertain and surround myself with dear friends and family. It's a place that should be safe and should hold memories, and it should be a place where one can feel relaxed and celebrate one's relationship.
Well said. Well said. I think the only thing I'd add to that, because I'm a designer and I create spaces not just for myself but for other people. And when I'm dealing with a client, for example, I'll ask them, how do you like to entertain? What do you like to do? And there's a whole questionnaire, and I create a psychological profile, if you will, of the client to figure out, like, how am I going to interpret, how am I going to create a home for them that reflects their aspirations, their fantasy, their greatest likes and passions. And that's really, I think I carry that into, all of our homes, whether it's New Jersey or Florida or here. It's just, and then we have similar tastes too. So there's never,
luckily,
not
yes,
really a battle, very seldom a battle.
A lot we both enjoy.
Yeah.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm James.
And I'm Tom. Welcome to our home here in Chicago.
We are thrilled to have you. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Thank you to Serena and Lily for sponsoring today's episode.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm James Dolenc. I'm one of the founders of James Thomas.
I'm Tom Riker, the other founder. This is our dog, Teddy.
Welcome to our house, everybody. We are in our apartment here in Chicago on the lake, on Lakeshore Drive.
In Chicago's Gold Coast.
Yep, so welcome. So we had a huge life adjustment in 2018. We had basically built our life and our firm on the west side of Chicago for about 20 years.
We had a big open loft space in a building, and we were lived on the third floor. We had commercial space on the first floor, which was a great thing when we were starting off our firm, because we could be, at the office all the time.
Absolutely. But as our firm grew and as we matured, especially as Chicagoans, we realized, wait, hold on. We live in Chicago with this amazing lakefront, and why aren't we on the lake? So we made a huge move, and we bought this place in 2018. We also moved our studio.
Which doing two renovations at the same time was not a good emotional or financial move, but we got through it, and we were able to move in here in 2019.
And ended up doing a major gut renovation of this apartment. We're in a historic 1920s pre-war building, beautiful brick exterior, and we basically bought the unit for its layout. We have a Michigan home that is kind of really our home.
True home, yeah.
We come here, we work from Monday to Thursday, maybe Friday sometimes, and then hightail it over to Michigan. So this really needed to be a spot where we could rest, obviously cook a little bit, but really truly just work while we're here in Chicago.
It wasn't a place meant for really entertaining big groups or having nighttime guests, overnight guests.
Like cocktails, I think. Cocktails and then out to dinner.
Yeah,
right.
It's small, so it's sort of, we look at it as sort of our pied-à-terre in Chicago that we come back to after spending weekends and holidays and extended periods over at our house in Michigan.
So our unit is about 1,400 square feet, and we basically bought it because we loved the layout. We ended up turning, let's see, one of the bedrooms, there's 2 bedrooms, one of the bedrooms into a dressing room, and the second bedroom, obviously we had a bedroom. So, but we ended up doing a full gut renovation.
This unit had very little original interest. Everything had been sort of stripped away. It was in desperate need of a major renovation. So we tried to put back a lot of historic charm into the unit by adding, crown moldings and heavy baseboards. We put in new floors. There's a herringbone floor here in the main living space. Gutted the bathrooms, new kitchens, new kitchen. So it was, as James said, a very extensive renovation.
Definitely. I mean, it had definitely, I think, a power 60s moment going on when we first bought it.
Yeah, it was bad.
It was pretty bad. We wanted to, as Thomas said, we wanted to maintain, or I should say, go back to the original integrity of the architecture and dial in everything. So everything you see in terms of whether it be moldings,
the fireplace,
the floors, it's all brand new, but we really tried to kind of stick true to the heritage and integrity of the original architecture. Welcome to the entry of our apartment here in Chicago. As with most entries, we like to make an impact. So given the size of the space, it was pretty easy to do. We are in love with the hand stenciled floors. We worked with Studio Linares, who is our specialty painter here in Chicago, and we did beautiful hand stenciled painted floors, and really
everyone who
beautiful.
comments in thinks that it's actually inlay, and we're like, no, it's actually just a stencil. So it was super easy, kind of an inexpensive way to have high impact in this space.
In a small space.
Yeah.
Also, the Scalamandre grass cloth wall covering just really pulls you into the space. Every single color that's within this wall covering we've used throughout the space.
So it's kind of the bridge, as we describe it, of all the spaces in the apartment. So it, as James said, every color is there.
Not to miss the foil ceilings by Studio E. Another one of our favorite wall covering manufacturers. Studio E does a beautiful job with hand-painted foil wall covering. It's just gorgeous. And one of our favorite design partners of all time, Urban Electric. We've always been in love with these ceiling fixtures. And they're really like little jewel boxes, little jewel nuggets,
And then on our search for something for this wall, we came across these antique Antiglios and thought they were really a beautiful addition, kind of very simple. The wall covering is so graphic and bold and has a lot of impact, so we wanted something quieter.
Definitely. Come on into the living room. Welcome to our living room. Come on in. We started, I think one of the key features of this room, and kind of where we started, is the gallery wall. It was important because we don't have direct views of the lake. It was important that we get a really nice reflection of the lake. So we had a handful of different various pieces of art that we didn't know where to put. So obviously we created this beautiful gallery
And there's
wall.
some funny stories about some of these pieces. The Foo Dogs, my old friend Dee Dee and I were cleaning out her mom's basement in our early 20s because I think we were between jobs and her mom was actually going to pay us to clean out her basement. And I came across these and her mom was like, I don't want those anymore, take them. And they've been with us for 25 years or more, 30 years I think I've had them. And then another little piece that I love, the story behind, is this little painting. A woman, we featured a view of this room on Instagram, and a woman did a little painting of it, and she was selling it. And I saw the post, and I said, well, I want to buy it. It's my living room. So we had it framed and added it to the gallery wall, which I think is a little fun addition, that it's a view of the same room.
Talk about the Balmain piece too. I love that photograph.
Yeah, we came across the piece of the women in the Balmain fashion show from the 50s. It's a shot from a Parisian fashion show. We just thought it was really cool, and the attitude of the woman.
Her stance is brilliant.
Yeah,
it's brilliant.
yeah.
Another one of our little favorite paintings is by unfortunately a deceased artist, André Delfaux. He's again a French artist who resided here in Chicago. Was married to Ruth Page, who is a very famous dancer here in Chicago, and he did a lot of set design and textile design and sketches. And this is just a little set design or a costume design that he did for the Lyric here in Chicago. It's a very, very special piece to us. But the space is, is definitely full, I would say.
It's
in terms
compact.
of it's compact, but a lot of detail was added. We did the pencil molding on the ceiling. The crown is brand new and painted in a beautiful white dove Benjamin Moore paint. The fireplace, although it does look original, is from a manufacturer here in Chicago, Materials Marketing. We loved the traditional aspect of the design with a little bit of Art Deco flair. Wouldn't you say, Tom?
Yeah, for sure. And this, the black marble had a dramatic impact, which we thought was really beautiful here.
Definitely. One of our other favorite elements is the coffee table from South Loop Lofts, which is
Here in Chicago, a great resource for vintage finds.
Yep, and the Greek key detail is one of our faves. And lastly, we've got a lot of family photos, so we kind of needed to curate them and put them in one spot. So this the side table was definitely a perfect element.
I think a little funny design thing that happened when we were having furniture made for this space is that the sofa couldn't come through the elevator. The elevator wasn't big enough, and they're getting through the door.
Pieces.
So right, as James said, it came in 5 pieces, and they had to actually fabricate it here on site.
So,
which we've actually had to do a number of times with clients, and it's always scary when you have to tell a client, like, well, they're just going to put your sofa together, in your living room. But this was an example of where we couldn't get a sofa
to all homeowners and designers out there, measure, measure, and especially measure your cased openings and your elevator.
Yeah, the elevator door width is always a tricky
because we've learned our lesson many times.
I think the last thing we just want to point out is the antique Oriental rug. We work a ton with Oscar Asbirian here in Chicago. They allowed us to test out a number of different rugs, and in the end, this was the one that we chose, which pulls in all the colors, has definitely that antique vibe that we were, vintage vibe that we were going for. So
absolutely,
we love the addition of the rug into the space.
I mean, obviously this is our entertaining space.
And Teddy's very comfortable here.
Teddy's very comfortable, but it's in our entertaining space, it's our TV watching space,
right.
It's our view of the Lake Michigan space, and a great place to come to at the end of every workday.
Yeah, it's very cozy.
Obviously, this room is very layered, and one of our favorite elements, in tandem with everything else, is the Philip Jeffries grass cloth wall covering. We chose this to reflect the lake that is right outside our front door, and to really bring the lake and the outside in. And to contrast it, we've got this super comfortable sofa. This is a Miles red fabric that we've been obsessed with for a very long time. And a little fun detail with throwing in the cheetah print. Who doesn't love a good cheetah print? And love to kind of point out like all the interesting welt details. This is a French flange. This is a boxed detail in terms of the tape trim, and just kind of a nice assemblage of some happy pillows.
When we were beginning the design for this space, we knew we wanted lots of color. And to be honest, red is not a color that we gravitate towards and have actually never really used in any of our homes or even for clients. Red is kind of a scary color, but that fabric has always been drawn to us, and we kind of started with that fabric. And I said, I really want to use this somewhere, and it is, again, sort of like the wallpaper in the entryway has it's the bridge fabric.
Yep.
And it's bold and impactful. We repeated it again in the dining room, which we will show you. But it's fun.
Yeah.
I think to be colorful, it makes us happy. To be colorful in this space, it was our goal, and so that has a lot of color in it.
Completely. There's a handful of wonderful design partners here in Chicago that we source through regularly. There's Jason Home and Garden up on Southport. This is this beautiful burlwood box that we picked up there. Right behind us, Another great place is Redefine Decor on Grand Avenue. We had just come back from Greece on a work conference and saw this Grecian-inspired, I would say, part of a bust, and picked that up at Redefine Decor.
And I think, as James mentioned, we did use a number of my family pieces. This was in my grandmother's home. We had it refinished. It's a fun little bar element that stores, a ton of liquor and glassware.
This is all very important in our lives. Where do you keep the booze?
But I think it's a little bit unexpected that it would be kind of hidden away behind this piece of furniture. But it's a great piece. It's a great piece. Another piece that we just want to note is the case good piece, which is from the 50s that we actually found on Cherish. And
love Cherish.
We love Cherish, and you can find such great, interesting pieces. It's a little bit scary ordering something that you haven't physically seen in person.
It
but
came out pretty well.
It came out pretty well.
Yeah, definitely.
We're pretty happy with it.
This houses all of our AV, the important AV. So there's definitely, this is kind of like a yacht almost. Every inch is used for something. And though you may not see AV components, it's truly hidden.
Yeah.
Definitely. Lastly, just a few mementos that mean a lot to us. This was given to Tom and myself by one of our very best friends that I've known since my early 20s. It's from somewhere in Asia, I'm not sure quite where, but it's meant to signify friendship. So this was a really important and has been a little accessory for us. And then lastly, who doesn't love a good door knocker? This is also from Redefine Decor here in Chicago. We just like the welcoming aspect, the fact that this is our home.
Right.
Knock, come on in, sit down. You're welcome anytime.
We came from a loft that was super minimal, very lacking of color, and I think when we
we embrace color.
Yeah, now we do now, and our
here.
firm does much more than we did maybe 10 years ago, and we really just kind of wanted to infuse this with color, mix in different furniture pieces and types and styles and vintage and some family heirlooms and obviously some new things. So we it's not maximalist, but it's definitely layered and colorful.
Well, and you had a lot of beautiful family antiques and heirlooms that we really tried to dial in. I think our initial inspiration was an Upper East Side pied-à-terre. We wanted, just given the size and scale of the space, really enabled us to kind of treat each room kind of like a powder room, where every surface is sheathed in something special. We could really dial up, the charm and layering of the moldings. So we treated each space like a little jewel box.
And because each space is so small, it was easy to kind of do that.
Completely.
We're like, okay, the kitchen is as big as a postage stamp. Well, let's just then infuse it with color.
And I love mixing in all your family heirlooms.
Well,
which would really add kind of that extra layer to the space, and didn't feel like everything is brand new.
Yeah, I'm a little bit of a hoarder, so
a little bit.
So I like being surrounded by things that were in my mom's house or my grandparents' house. So
there is not an inch of space in
there's
this
lots
apartment.
There's lots of room for more.
Yes.
So
we've definitely filled every nook and cranny. When it comes to design in general, design for this house, how we run our firm, it's definitely would say a collaboration. But when it came to this apartment, who wears the design pants?
I think we worked together. I might have been a little bit more involved in this is Sunny, our cat, by the way, who's now decided to join us. Maybe I was a little bit more involved in the fabric selection.
For sure.
But it was very collaborative. We knew what we both what we wanted out of this apartment and how we wanted it to feel.
Decisions actually came pretty easily.
Yeah, they did come pretty easily.
I think I focused more on the interior architecture,
right?
Which is ironic because Tom has the architecture background and I have the commercial interiors background. But when it comes to our firm and to this apartment in general,
right?
I focused a little bit more on the interior architecture, some of the molding profiles,
some of those details.
Absolutely, where you focus on more of the furniture and furnishings and the fabrics.
Yeah.
But what you see here is definitely a collaboration from both of us.
And our team. We had our team.
Oh my gosh, amazing team.
Two of our team members really helped spearhead and kind of organize, manage the construction aspect of this. and they worked with me on all the fabrics and all the furniture pieces. So it wasn't like I was working in a vacuum.
For sure. Well, and it helped that you had so many great family heirlooms too.
It did, yeah.
So that was those were really easy to weave into our space and to make it feel like a home. So why don't you follow us into our expansive home office? It's not a huge space, but it really does function well for us.
Yeah, it really does.
Traditionally in these units, this is a C unit, traditionally in these units, the cased opening is about right here. It's much, much further into the space. So you have a traditional living room and you have a traditional dining room. Because this is truly a pied-à-terre for us and a place where we come and work, we did need a home office.
And we didn't need a huge dining room. We didn't want to dedicate that amount of real estate to a dining room that we knew we weren't going to use, on a daily basis.
Completely. So we pushed the cased opening to a much more, I would say, intimate or compact dining room space, and then it allowed for us to do a home office. We use this all the time when we entertain meaning like cocktails and hors d'oeuvres. We're not throwing huge dinner parties here.
No.
But this is a receiving table. It's where we
put out hors d'oeuvres and cocktails.
Absolutely.
But we sit here, James especially, in the morning when I'm getting myself together. James sits here and answers emails and uses this as a desk pretty regularly. And the fun thing about this is that these bases, which we found also at Redefined Decor in Chicago, they were in our loft, a previous home, this was our dining table, so we had obviously a much bigger piece of glass cut for it then, and it was used as our dining table. When we moved here, we got a smaller piece of glass and decided to repurpose it as a desk. These were in my grandfather's office from the 20s.
Amazing. And
they have been reupholstered and changed locations throughout the years.
Many times.
And it's kind of a fun addition that we sit in every day.
And much like with the AV, all of the printer functions are hid away in this custom case piece. But it really does work well for us.
Yeah.
And just some fun accessories, more books. Again, hidden behind the picture frame is the subwoofer for the AV, but is disguised by a beautiful, beautiful portrait of Tom's mother and father on their wedding day. This was a wonderful gift from a very good friend of ours here in Chicago, from Thomas McCormick Gallery in the Mart. And then some just accessories that we've had throughout the ages. But
I think we love these vintage chairs that we found at South Loop Lofts, upholstered them in the same kind of cheetah fabric that you saw in the living room. We use these as pickup chairs either when we need additional space in the living room, or we have more than 4 people in the dining, which we've had a couple of times over the years.
So. And the prints came from Italy on one of our trips. There was a company called Barovio and Toso who brought us over very, very graciously to Venice. And we picked these up in Vicenza, yes.
And they're Palladio sketches of some of the buildings that he did in Vicenza.
Yeah, so they work really nicely here.
Yeah,
we're thrilled to have them.
Detailed.
One more thing we want to point out, we actually just picked up this mirror in Palm Beach. This is from Casa Gusto, and incredible. This is actually paper mache, hand-painted paper mache over a wood substrate, and we thought was perfect in this environment. Again, it reflects the lake, it reflects the home office area, and really kind of opened up the space, and just again, little like flourish at the very top that is makes us happy and fun detail. So why don't you follow us into the dining room and we'll see you there. I think one of the things that was super challenging about working in a pre-war historic building was dealing with just the plaster, the lath,
fire brick. The construction of this building is very difficult to change things, to add, J boxes in the ceiling, to sconce locations. It was very challenging to work within the confines of the construction of the walls.
The Chicago fire, obviously in the late 1800s, really changed architecture here in Chicago and how things were built. So the walls are solid fire brick with lath and plaster over the fire brick. So as Tom, as you were saying, like anything, in terms of adding, whether it be electrical or J-boxes for sconces, or even moving, an opening, really provided, I should say, proved to be a challenge.
Really,
so
really difficult.
Try to work with the layout as much as possible.
Yeah, we didn't really change the footprint too much because we liked the original footprint. So we were lucky in that respect.
But this space is, and it's designed for the two of us.
Yeah.
My brother was like, "Wait, where is the bedroom for me?" I'm like,
the guest bedroom.
The bedroom is down the street
at a hotel.
At a hotel. So it's really designed for us because we come here on Monday mornings and we decamp and we go to the studio and we work for the week and then we're headed back to Michigan. So it's designed for the two of us. So it's got a layout that is a little untraditional. There's not really a formal dining room. There's not really a formal closet. The closet is our dressing room, and it's also a receiving room for guests.
One of the things we hear again and again from people either looking at our website or potential new clients that they're drawn to is that our projects look finished and layered. Totally. And I think that this home reflects that, and we had a lot of fun doing it. We really like finishing projects and putting on that last, the coffee table book and the candle down to make it look completely finished and lived in. And we think obviously this home reflects that to a T.
Yeah, there's with our firm, we're definitely, as Tom was saying, we're noted for spaces that feel layered and luxurious, handsome. But there's also an edited element to our interiors.
Right.
There's not going to be layer upon layer upon layer upon layer just for the layer's sake. So there was an effort here to layer, but with restraint.
Right. Being restrained is key.
For sure. So the things really stood out, and you could appreciate each and every object for what it's worth and what it stood for.
Right.
But I think that's the biggest thing in terms of our kind of design philosophy for this space. Welcome to our dining room. So we have been in love for a very long time with this interior architectural element called treillage or trellis work. We've always wanted to have it in our own home. We just never really had the space to do it.
We fell in love with it. We were at a restaurant in New Orleans.
Oh my gosh, it was forever ago.
And their entire dining room was sheathed in it, and we thought, that would be so fun to use someday.
Definitely. So one of the first things that we thought of, right, when this dining room came together, was doing this treillage treatment on the walls. And so we worked with a company actually here in Chicago to do a custom installation of it, and to us it feels like a garden room, and that was really, I think, the inspiration behind it. It's our breakfast room, it's our garden room, it's our dining room,
right?
And really, pulls you in, and at night the space is amazing with candles lit. And
I think because the view is so urban, and kind of there's some
lots of high
rises and very concrete-y, that we love the idea of making this feel garden-like, which is a complete juxtaposition from what you see when you actually look out the windows.
Yes. So, okay, couple of things about this space that I think actually are quite funny. This is from a client of ours. She found it, no joke, she found it in the alley. I think it's a Century piece, right?
Yeah.
It's a piece from Century that she was going to toss out.
She was using for a while, and I admired it, and she said, well, I don't want it anymore. Do you want it? And I said,
yeah, hello.
Absolutely, I want it.
Yes.
So we took it. We had our furniture maker sand it down, repaint it. We added this great marble top to it.
But you never know what you're going to find in the alley.
In the alley.
Come on. And then to kind of mirror, I'd say, to add on to the whole garden theme, this is an artist here called, his name is Stephen Eichhorn, and this is actually a collage.
He cuts out all these flowers from magazines and then collages them together in this kind of very cool technique. We thought it was really dramatic, and with the the black background, the black piece of furniture, obviously there's some black accents throughout. We just thought it was a beautiful addition.
And in regards to the trellis, the other major inspiration, I would say, for this room is we belong to a private club here in Chicago, and this whole banquette arrangement was inspired from that club, wouldn't you say,
Yeah.
Tom? I
Yep.
mean, the green, the deep green, the red accent. We wanted this space to feel cozy and intimate, and so we kind of took that whole banquet inspiration from our club and dialed it into this room.
And we intentionally sort of obstructed the view. You're kind of looking over at rooftops and buildings, so we wanted to break that up with the banquet so that you saw, these beautiful pillows and the rich green. There's, obviously the green bringing in the kind of garden idea.
Absolutely.
So it's sort of unexpected. People come in and like, oh, you've blocked your view. Well, we did that very intentional.
Definitely.
And you'll see that the red floral peacock fabric repeated on the back of these super, super comfy barrel chairs that our local workroom made for us, which we love.
This is a fabric by Knoll Textiles. It is indestructible.
Yeah.
So
it's basically ultra suede, which is,
you can spill anything on it, wipe anything off of it. It's fantastic. Two more things to point out really quickly. So these torchère lamps, these are also a family heirloom of Tom's. They're sterling or they're silver plate.
Silver plate.
You actually pull it down to turn them on, and love the lion head detail, the ring. They're really chic. Again, kind of bringing in that Art Deco vibe a bit.
Yeah.
And then lastly, yes, go ahead.
We, as we mentioned before, we love working with Urban Electric, based out of Charleston. This is one of their fixtures. You can customize the finishes. Obviously, we had the interior painted this fun brick red color.
See the red tie-in?
It's the red. It's very much overscaled, which we intentionally did to really, fill up the space, and added the custom shades. We just think it's a great kind of garden element.
Absolutely.
Inside our apartment.
And again, at night, it is so pretty in here with the pendant, the candles going.
Yeah.
You got the light bouncing off the treillage on the walls. It's really a special space. Not that we spend a ton of time in here, because it's usually cocktails and we're out to dinner.
But we have had dinner parties where there have been 6 of us sitting around this table. The table actually can expand, and we pull up those little chairs from the office area, and it's super comfy for 6 people.
For sure. Welcome to our petite, is an understatement, butler's pantry. This was just truly a pass-through space when we started construction. The cabinetry was quite a bit more shallow than what you see here. And obviously, as Tom pointed out earlier with the bar from his family, having a cocktail every now and then is part of life, right? So we wanted to create a little pass between, or a little moment between our dining room and our kitchen, and so came up with this custom bar. The wood top is marine grade finish, so really takes a beating. This is where all of our wine is stored. Very, very important thing here in the house. And then just additional storage up here with glassware, and a great spot to have your bar set up for cocktails at night.
One of the fun things, we love this company, Colleen and Company, that does really beautiful metalwork fixtures, and we loved adding that to kind of really dress up this space and sheathe the whole space, including the ceiling, in this Philip Jeffries grass cloth basket weave pattern.
Yeah. As Tom pointed out, this kind of just, the ceiling fixture from Colleen and Company really kind of just drives home the garden vibe that we had in mind for this whole space. And it's a happy fixture.
But coming into the kitchen.
I've lived downtown since I was 18 and had a kind of a quasi-failed career in public relations, and so went back to design school. And actually initially I was in commercial interiors and kind of laid some groundwork and definitely had some formidable training in laying out a lot of workstations. And you were in architecture.
So I have an undergrad degree in psychology. I too worked in public relations for a huge public relations firm here in Chicago after I graduated from the University of Michigan. And then I floundered for a couple of years trying to figure some things out, and decided ultimately to go back and get a master's degree in architecture. And I worked for an architecture firm for about 7 years before James and I started collaborating on small interior projects we look back on, and lobbies of buildings that my firm was doing, that a friend of mine was a developer on, and
unfortunately,
model units.
Right. The only kind of creative element with commercial interiors most often would be like the lobby or maybe the CEO's office, and I kind of got tired of not being able to work with beautiful materials, great textiles, and not a lot of room for creative expression. Right. And I think the same.
And I got very tired of the technical aspects of architecture, and realized that I always had an interest in home furnishings and antiques. My mother ran an estate sale business in the Detroit area where I'm from.
We have a lot from.
Yeah, yes. And so that I realized there was a kind of a passion there that I needed to explore, and it was great that I could pivot away from architecture while still using that background, which we still use, and kind of hone in on interior design and
for sure
home furnishings.
So we've had our firm since 2003, and we have an incredible team. Between Tom and myself, there's 18 of us at the firm. They are incredibly kind and talented and collaborative, and we are nothing without our team. So we're celebrating, 21 years?
21 years.
21 years in 2024. So thrilled to be here. Welcome to our kitchen.
Hello.
Come on in. So much like the dining room and much like the butler's pantry, this is a smaller space, and but as we've mentioned before, we wanted it to feel cozy and welcoming and kind of like a yacht. Every square inch has to be used, and we knew right from the beginning that we wanted to do a super high impact, colorful kitchen. So this is Polar Jade by Benjamin Moore, super deep, rich green paint color that really wraps you and envelops you, and is, I would say, cozy.
Yeah, and we really tried to maximize the space by hiding things away. This is a 24-inch Sub-Zero column refrigerator, 2 freezer drawers. We don't need a lot of freezer space. We did kind of a smaller scale steam oven instead of like a big, huge cooktop or big huge pantry. And then one of the other things we decided to utilize was the induction cooktop by Miele, just so that we don't have to contend with
counter space,
big, hardware. We can use it as counter space. You can cut on it. You can put your groceries down on it, so it goes away pretty quickly when you need it to.
Definitely. And then the all-important dishwasher. But as Tom was pointing out, every single square inch is used in this kitchen, and it's used efficiently.
Right.
We're not in it a lot. We're here for breakfast. We're here.
It's a little tight when 2 of us are in here together.
It's a little tight. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it works. I think another thing that we've done throughout this apartment is the use of mirrors, and so we sheathe the whole back wall in mirror so that it reflects the light and makes the whole space feel bigger. Definitely. So that was a big move that we love, kind of the result of it. I think it works really well in helping open up this space.
And not to forget, as we've mentioned a handful of times, our favorite partners, Urban Electric, did these great ceiling fixtures. And then Philip Jeffrey is on the wall with the grass cloth wall covering,
which was
really special.
We repeated from the butler's pantry.
So it might be counterintuitive to paint a small space dark, but we had always had crisp romaine from Benjamin Moore in our heads when it came to selecting a paint color. And choosing a darker paint color in a smaller space actually blurs the corners. So when it is a little bit of a fallacy that that painting a small space as dark is only going to appear to be more dark. When you paint things light, you actually see every single corner and you see every single nook and cranny. By painting something dark, it actually blurs.
Kind of goes away.
Exactly, goes away and blurs your vision of defining each and every corner. So to us, the space actually feels larger than what it really is, in just the sense of painting the cabinets darker.
We also love this color, and it was, just such a fun, bold color that we wanted to see on the cabinet.
Absolutely, and that color is woven through each and every nook of this space. whether it be in our living room or whether it be in the garden room, our breakfast room. We love it. Oh my gosh, we met at a party. I know, shocking, very revolutionary, but we had a very, very good friend in common that had these horrific faux columns. You know, back in like the 90s, remember when
Sponge painted, like Corinthian columns.
But like Roman architecture was used as like coffee table bases and perhaps columns flanking rooms, where our very, very good friend at the time had these horrific faux columns that were sponge painted in his dining room.
I think they might even had like vines painted down the side of them.
So we did not know each other at the time, obviously, and he was having a party. And so I used to give our friend at the time a lot of crap for his faux painted columns, and so did you.
Yeah.
So he had this party, and he said, hey guys, he's like, I want you to meet each other. And so we kibitzed over really bad faux painted columns, and that's how we met. And I asked Tom out, and the rest is history. I guess 26 years later, right? 26?
26 years later.
26 later. I got that right. So welcome to our dressing room / receiving room / dump zone.
Obviously it was a bedroom previously that we decided we needed more closet space. This apartment didn't have a ton of closet space, and so we decided to forego the guest bedroom, who uses a guest bedroom that much, and as we said earlier, there are lots of hotels around that guests can stay at.
Completely.
So,
this is a dream space for us. It's not, again, much like the rest of the apartment, it's not very large space, but we tricked it out in terms of custom cabinetry. One of our very, very favorite things about this room is that and this is part of working with a great artist, is that the cabinets themselves are solid oak, but then the crown and the doors and the trim is all hand painted to match the oak.
So it's all faux painted, again by Studio Linares, who we work with a ton here in Chicago. So we always like to point it out to people because, you know, we say which is real oak, which is, you know, faux painted, and no one can
And so
tell
many
the
people have
difference.
asked us, well, why don't you just put oak everywhere? And to us, we really wanted to highlight what it's like to work with a very talented artist and the artistry that goes into faux painting. So this was really a special thing that we worked with Studio Linares on.
It's also, there's a cost savings. I mean,
Oh my gosh,
to
there's
do
cost
all
savings.
the trim out of oak, you know, would have been a bit more expensive.
A bit more expensive. These are, this is my side. This is the organized side.
What are you saying?
You know, shoes are here, coats are over there. But you know, it's a wonderful space to walk into every single day. You know, we drop our wallets off here, we drop our watches off here, and we're surrounded by this beautiful custom millwork.
And it's also because the bathrooms are both off of the bedrooms, or the original bedroom. You know, when guests come over, this is the bathroom that they're going to use, so they're going to need to walk through this space.
Right.
So we did, as James said, we treated this sort of as a receiving table, and you know, we wanted everything hidden behind doors, so you weren't walking into our dirty, messy closet.
Absolutely.
So, and you know, there's a comfy chair that we'll do, you know, emails at.
Or I'll have a glass of wine here
Yeah.
while Tom gets ready and asks me opinions about what he's wearing.
which does happen even after 26 years.
We love a good valet. We try to have one in each of our clients' home. A valet is like key. It's a drop zone. It's a place for, you know, pocket squares and cufflinks, and then, you know,
Belts
even
and
organized belts. So who doesn't love, you know, a belt tray?
Yeah.
But this is a great thing to have in a closet for sure.
So obviously the built-in dresser, but you can customize it to fit your needs perfectly.
Tom had pointed out really quickly this receiving table, or this center table. Again, we love working with Cherish. This is a federal style table.
With a leather inlay top.
Traditionally, it would have been used as a rent table, probably. You know, where you would put your rent, so the drawers pull out. Your payment for rent would go in one of the rent drawers.
So it's termed a rent table historically.
Absolutely. This is one of our favorite little guys too. This is an owl, a brass owl that we picked up in Austin.
Austin, Texas. We were there for a wedding, and we went into this antique store, and this was not easy to carry home on the plane.
Definitely.
That was irritating.
You're not packing that in your luggage, that's for sure.
No.
And as we've mentioned a couple of times, Redefine Decor, wonderful, wonderful source here in Chicago. We love this, I don't know, it's just a little object, you know, with the stag heads.
Yeah.
Really, really great piece.
You'll notice that on the floors, we decided to, instead of doing hardwood in here, we decided to do wall-to-wall sisal. We love using sisal. We love that it brings a different texture and the natural elements of sisal. So we decided to do sisal in both this room and in our bedroom. We love how it feels underfoot. It's a favorite of ours.
And I've mentioned the word, you know, garden a couple times, and you know, the garden aspect feels casual to us, and sisal is an indoor-outdoor, you know, element that kind of evokes a sense of casualness, a sense of that garden element. We love the way this feels underfoot. And it's, you know, to do something a little bit more formal would have made this space almost too precious. And the sisal kind of really brings it down and just feels casual within the space.
Yeah. Okay.
Last but not least, two things. This is from a wonderful company in Milwaukee called Brass Light Gallery. It's a handmade alabaster bowl. And at night, it is so incredibly soft in here with the lighting.
It just glows.
And then on the ceiling, this is a great company called Twigs. It's pheasant wall covering. Again, you see that green that we've woven throughout the entire space.
Different shades of green, but we loved how that just was unexpected on the ceiling.
It kind of feels English inspired. Everybody, it is an English company actually. And
looks like the antique book binding. So we liked the feel of it on the ceiling there.
Absolutely. So why don't you follow us into what I call the Barbie powder room. Come on in. This is not only the powder room, but this is my bathroom. It's a key to the marriage that Tom has his bathroom and I have mine. Especially when the bathrooms are this small.
That small.
So, like we've talked about a couple times, you know, because these were small spaces, we were able to kind of go all out with finishes. So we decided to sheathe all the walls in this beautiful Carrara marble. And we did the crown in Carrara marble. We did the trim around the window in Carrara marble. And on the floors, we have this beautiful mosaic in a blend of Carrara and then Dolomite. And just really sets off the entire space. This is what I call my Barbie vanity. It is, I think it's probably about, I would say probably about 22, 24 inches wide. So you gotta be organized when you're getting ready. But it's perfect for this space. Everything behind is hidden in terms of power and all your supplies. So, you know, at night again, this is a really romantic and moody bathroom with everything lit beautifully. But the walls, I love walking in every day. It's just a great space to get ready in. Home to me, and I think you would say the same, home to me is an attitude or a feeling or an emotion. Home is about creating a space that your friends and your family feel welcome. There's a great Scandinavian term called hygge, where it's really about creating an environment that is warm and inviting, and it's a general feeling where your family and your friends
are comfortable and welcome. And
that's home to us. And home, it may sound cliche, but a home can be, you know, a one-bedroom apartment and, you know, in the burbs, or it can be, you know, a 5-bedroom home, you know, in New York City. So it really depends on where you are, but it's about creating a feeling and a welcoming atmosphere for family and friends.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.